What's your name?
Christiana. Nonga.
7.
No.
Hello, Trevor.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm tired.
Tired?
Tired?
Oh,
You don't look tired. You look great.
You look fantastic. But wait, tired from life or tired from... No, I always feel like you should ask people because sometimes we ask people, how are you? Then they'll say tired. Yeah. You think they mean they haven't slept. But what they mean is, I'm exhausted.
They're about to take their own life.
No. Why we not? Don't think of it like that. Think of it.
I'm on book tour. I've been traveling.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I just assumed you would know that that's what I meant.
I don't assume anything when people tell me how they are.
Some people find it invigorating, like going on the road, talking about their work. Okay, all right.
Really?
No,
it's
Trevor,
true.
We
Actually,
have people here that are like,
some people are. They just like they're like, I love getting out there and
meeting the people.
No, I do. But after 5 days of doing that, when you haven't really slept, and I don't sleep well when I'm traveling. I don't sleep well in strange places and in hotel rooms. And I left Seattle at 4:30 this morning.
Oh okay. Yeah, then you should be tired.
Yeah. So I'm not at all suggesting that I don't like meeting my fans because I actually do.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good problem to have. So
sometimes I think the phrase "good problem" robs us of our ability to like feel what we're feeling. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes people will say it to you almost like you're not allowed to feel something because of the position you're in relative to another position.
So you have to be grateful for the problem.
Yeah. People be like, wow, but these are good problems. Then I'm like, no, it's just a problem.
Just say it sucks.
I don't think it needs to be a good one. No, and I mean this for me. I'm completely projecting, by the way.
But I think it depends on the context, though. I think for me, it's a way of saying it is a problem.
Yes.
But I kind of like that I have the problem.
Okay.
Which is to say that I kind of like that people are interested in the book.
Yeah.
Right? If they weren't, I would not be traveling for the book. So, but I don't think, but I think when you say a good problem, you're already saying the problem part, no? I think if somebody said that to me, I would not take it well.
Okay,
you do not get to decide for me what my good problem is.
No, then we're on the same page. Okay, no. Then
as long as you're defined, because sometimes there's like this, you have to embrace humility. You have to like couch everything you say in.
Yes.
It's this, but I'm grateful. You know, that thing that you have to do. But sometimes you be like, traveling sucks. I hate hotels. I don't like the food. I miss my family. You know?
I don't do that fake.
Okay.
By
the way, we poured you a fresh one if you want it.
Thank you.
Right now we poured it. It's up to you.
I got this from Seth Meyers, so I'll drink that instead.
Christiana and I were chatting earlier about, first of all, your name and the fact that you are, I think in many ways, a dying breed. Right? You said it beautifully. You said a literary giant.
Yeah, she's literary.
You just go Chimamanda and people are like, oh wow, okay.
You just have to say one name.
It's like being Beyonce but in the world of books. do you know what I mean? There's no denying any type of art that comes with fame then comes with the pressure. And in a weird way, I feel like art, for the most part, not to be highfalutin about it, but like art is almost supposed to be like bumping up against things all the time. It's sort of is accepted but not accepted, challenging but still accessible. It's like in this weird space. How do you feel about your fame relative to what you're doing? Like, do you feel it hinders you, or do you feel like it liberates you?
Neither. But hold on. But do you think? So, are you suggesting that fame means somehow that fame corrupts art?
So I think what happens oftentimes is fame interferes with how art can be perceived. That's what I think it does, right? So I'll speak through the lens of, let's say, stand-up comedy alone. Any comedian who's like worth their salt will tell you the difference in how an audience perceives a perspective or a joke when the comedian is famous is very different. Because now they're not listening to what you're saying. They're trying to listen to it through the lens of them having a perception or an idea of who you are and where you are in relation to them. So they don't go funny, not funny, insightful, not insightful. They'll go, that's stupid for you. And I'm like, what do you mean that's stupid for me? If I would have told that joke 10 years ago, or I like that style of joke. And they'd be like, yeah, but come on, you're Trevor Noah. And I'm like, no, you see, that's where I feel like you're making the mistake.
It's like if you make a joke about traffic, people are like, well, you can get a helicopter, which I often say.
Exactly. Yeah, you love saying that. You love saying that. No, but I mean, I think of it like, and sometimes we only afford this to artists, for instance, let's say actual painters, when they're dead. I love how much gravitas is awarded to, let's say, Picasso for a random napkin sketch. People are like, oh, look at this Picasso sketch. And you're like, guys, it's like a stick figure. Yes, but even in it, you can see it harkens to his view of the world. I'm like, guys, the guy was just sketching on a napkin. Yes, but it was Picasso's sketch. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about it?
About fame, I don't think about it really. I mean, but here's why. I think of fame, and it's such a strange thing. I don't even know what to do with my face when I'm saying, I think of fame. But it's kind of like to... I know, but honestly, just think, but it's just, I don't think of, I think that when I'm writing fiction, because that's, for me, there are distinctions in what I do and in how much they mean to me. So fiction is the thing I love. Like, I really think it's my vocation. I think it's the reason I'm here. I really believe that. I really believe that I have an ancestral gift. So with fiction, nothing else matters. When I'm writing, I don't remember that I'm supposed to be this famous person when I'm writing fiction. When I'm done writing fiction and I'm editing it and someone else is sort of, there's an editor looking over it, that's when I sometimes have to think about audience. But even then, I almost never change anything. Because for me, fiction is almost, it's sacrosanct. I don't think about my audience. It's truly almost magical, honestly. But the other things, I can tell when people are bullshitting me, when people say, I love your work. And I'm thinking, no, you don't. Right? You actually don't. But
have you told anyone that?
Some, yes.
Good, I love that.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
That is the most Nigerian thing I've ever come across.
She's a real Igbo woman.
No, I mean, I'm sitting next to, this is like, wow.
It's too much for Trevor.
No, I mean, this is amazing.
But I think it can be a good thing, right? For someone, and usually it's my wonderful Nigerians. Oh, Chimamanda, I love your work. And so I said to him once, I was like, which one have you read? He said, I've read them. I said, which one have you read? He's like, the one about Biafra. I said, okay, what happened in it? So he starts laughing. And then he tells me, I'll read it. And then when it's people, when it's non-Nigerians, usually I can tell, but then I'm slightly gentler because, sometimes non-Nigerians don't know how to handle the sort of Nigerian directness.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think in general, because I want it to be read. I've always wanted to be read. And I really do feel very grateful. You know how you said people have to say that? But I am actually quite grateful to be read. But I think fame was never a thing that I sought. Mm-hmm. And in some ways also because I'm not on social media, because I sometimes I'm still surprised. I'm just like, oh, so that person actually knows me. So I'm not... Yeah, it doesn't occupy me.
Was that an intentional choice to not be on social media?
Yes.
What was it?
Self-preservation.
Huh.
So not in a high-minded way, by the way. Just because I know that I will get into fights with people and it will not end well. So I thought...
So you're the person you would reply if somebody at you and says something.
I would find where you lived and come to your house.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
That's how Christiana
I'd love to tell the story. It's crazy. When Trevor first got his job at The Daily Show, he had a guest on that I didn't agree with, that I thought he shouldn't have had it. I stand by that. Uh-huh. And
Does this guest have a name, perhaps?
Yeah, Tommy Loren.
Yeah.
And it was like a super viral interview and there was lots of reactions. And credit to Trevor, he came across tweets where I was critical of him in a very respectful way, I think.
How you were critical?
Not critical. I was just discussing. I was discussing the fact that he'd had this guest on his show, and because he disagreed with me, he followed me. He was just like, I don't think she's right, because he stands by why he had the interview, which I love about him, and someone reached out to me, was like, oh, Trevor Noah's a fan. Do you want to, what have you thought about working at the show? And the Nigerian in me was like, this man is trying to trick me and tell me off. That's the first thing I told my parents. I was like, I got this email. I think this man is trying to trick me and he's holding a grudge because I said he should have that girl on the show. But there was like that.
No, but I see why though.
Yeah.
I understand that.
But we engaged in a few conversations where he was like, you've made me think I don't necessarily agree. We had a few exchanges, not disrespectful ones, but like, Trevor's very kumbaya, but I'm a child of Biafra, so I always want to fight. So there's that, I think there's that Not tension, but we bring different things to how we approach
it's completely great. I think like what I connected with you on was most important for me is like, and you know this, even till this day, I don't care about agreeing with people, but I love a well-structured argument. I love an idea that makes me think.
Yeah.
And then something for me to butt up again. I actually find it boring when people all hang out in a group and agree with each other. I personally think we're losing a lot of that.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Like we live in a world now where we go, I don't agree with you, so it's finished.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, but guys, if I was to get rid of everyone in my life who I didn't agree with on an issue, I would have no one in my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, this is a gospel that needs to be preached more in America.
You think in America particularly?
Yes.
Tell me
This
more.
is not the case in Nigeria, for example, and I would argue in most of Africa. People know that you can disagree with a person and still have a relationship with them. I think what's happening in the US is a kind of, this kind of practice of purity, this kind of, you have to have these particular views, otherwise, and then the moralizing of opinion. So somebody feels a certain way about something. It's not just that you think they're wrong, it's that you think that they're bad people. And I think that moralizing then means like, because you think this way, you're a bad person and I cannot talk to you and you cannot be in my life.
Yeah.
I think it's a particularly American thing. I really think so. And it's quite contemporary. I mean, it's recent. I came to the US in 1997. I don't think America was like that when I came to the US. I think it's recent.
Do you find it like that?
Well, I came to America in 2014, and I say this a lot, and maybe I'm coming from like a Western lens of being in the UK and communicating with my friends in the UK. I think in the UK also people are wearing their politics more, or whatever their label of whatever you identify as, whether Republican, Democrat, socialist or whatever. And that is being at the front of a conversation in a way that is tainting how you can experience a person in real life.
Yeah.
In a way that I didn't feel when I first came to America.
When you first came?
When I first came, yeah. Because remember, I came when Obama was still in power.
No, you're not wrong, actually.
Yeah, when I came at the tail end of Obama, everyone assumed Hillary would win. And to be a Trump voter was a very quiet thing. I mean, we only discovered there were so many voters when the guy won. Because it was just those red hat people over there. You never thought it was the people around you. And I think there became this scrutiny after Trump won. Like, did you vote for him? Did you vote for him? I think you voted for him. Like that suspicion.
Yeah.
Or people who weren't in active mourning that Hillary wasn't president. And then it changed the timbre of our interactions in a way that I don't think we've recovered from or gone back to. And I think that's even deepened now in his second term.
And I always try and grapple with this. I try and figure out, especially now because I spend more time in South Africa than I've done over the past 10 years. So when I was doing The Daily Show, most of my life was just in America, and in the US, I couldn't really leave much. And now I get to spend more time going back to South Africa and traveling around. And one of the biggest things I've realized is in America, more than most places I've been to, people wear their politics as their culture. But where I'm from, your culture is your culture.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So no one would dare say where I'm from, I am a Republican or I am. No. I'm Xhosa, I'm Zulu, I'm Tswana, I'm Pedi.
But that's also because our politics in Africa is not ideological, though.
Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
But it's not, though. Is there in South Africa a party that you could say is on the left and on the right and in the center based on their policies?
Now, I know it sounds crazy, but because of Trump, they're emerging in some ways. But previously, there wasn't. Let's put it this way. All the major parties in South Africa will have very similar promises or ideals. They just have differences on how they believe they're going to get there. So most of them wouldn't argue that healthcare is a right. They all go like, no, everyone should have healthcare and there should be free education. But then they'll argue about the permutations of how to get there. And I think that in agreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about what I think that this kind of polarization, even that word I don't like, I think it preceded Trump.
Interesting.
I think Trump made it worse. But do you? I mean,
I think it was. I felt it with Trump.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a result of like the bubble I was in myself.
Yeah.
I just think we're in a time where people feel really defensive about what they believe, and there's not much space for negotiation.
I felt a lot of that reading your book.
which we actually read, by the way.
You did read it.
Yeah,
I loved it. I loved it so much. Oh, I loved your work. Your book was fantastic. I loved it.
I love that one you just did.
No, I read it. Cover to cover. This is how much I read it. I remember the first 50 pages. I thought it was like a memoir. I know this is crazy to you. Please don't get me wrong. I opened it and I was like, oh, is this like your nickname? And are you telling me your real story? No, I'm being serious. And then I
thought you were Chia.
I started Googling your father. I was like, wow, I knew he did statistics. I didn't know that he was this mega rich person. And I was like,
she's owed money.
I was like, yeah. And I was like, what do I not know about this person that is now changing how I see this? And I'm reading the book and nothing that I'm Googling is coming together. No, because I think in the way that it's written, it really felt like a personal account, from how, like, most of the time, when I read a novel, it is told sort of third person. Then she went and did this, then they were. Yeah. This felt like a me story from the beginning.
Yeah, you're immersed into this world of COVID.
Yes. COVID.
And the people arguing
on
family.
I'm so amused that you then went to Google to think, wait, this doesn't sound right.
No, I was. But I would love to know what inspired, or like, because you live in a world of fiction, you can go anywhere.
Yes.
Because
Trevor,
you live in a world.
You do know that there is such a thing as the first person narration.
No, I do. I understand this. I understand this completely. But what I'm saying, oftentimes the first person narration isn't so closely tied to the author. I love that you find this so amusing. No, I'm just saying for me.
But also, it's a wonderful compliment. Can I just say that? Because it means that you so believed this world that I created.
Only for the first 50 pages. By the time once we started getting to like Zikora's story, and once we were in like, you know what I mean, Kadiatu's stories, I was like, okay, I knew what was happening. Give me some credit. But I'm just saying, for the first 50, I was like, this is I even was planning, my first question to you was going to be like, how do your friends feel about the stories you've revealed about them? The things you've said about their sex lives. I was like, wow, I mean, Africans are generally conservative. How can you...
Africans are so private.
I was like, you've told this, your closest friends, the sex that she's having with her husband, and oh, wow, and the fact that he ravaged her in a way that she had never been ravaged. I was like, damn, this is... Wow.
He said that it felt like sneaking into a diary entry.
It really did feel like that.
Initially.
So I would love to know the why, because you talk about the world we're in now, and you mentioned it as well. How much of the world we're in now influenced this book? In you going, I think, like, why is the book set in and around COVID? It takes place right before COVID and then into COVID and then sort of out of COVID. Why does it take place then? Why does it take place, at liberal American universities? Why does it take place in this moment in time is what I'd love to know.
Because I'm interested in this moment, because I think, well, COVID is... I think for a writer, COVID is gold, because especially lockdown. Lockdown was so surreal, so unique, so original that you cannot but use it. It's like perfect material, because you can do anything with lockdown. And I think people reacted to lockdown in such different ways. So you kind of start with lockdown as your canvas, and you can really do anything with it. So I remember... I'm not sure. I didn't set out to. I don't even think of it as a COVID novel. I think of it as, because COVID in some ways is only a. So you want a character who's looking back. You want a character who I'm very interested in looking back. I'm almost addicted to nostalgia. I'm kind of always, and a kind of melancholy as well. COVID just felt to me the perfect setting to have that character look back. Right, so she's locked down. She's alone in her house, and she looks back. So I think if COVID hadn't happened, I suppose I would have made her fall sick, and then be in hospital.
Okay, you wanted to isolate her to look back on her life.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. It's not that I think that COVID had any. Well, it's up to the reader. I was going to say I don't think COVID has any particular meaning in the novel. But I think it's to say that the sort of authorial intent was not to make COVID a character, really, but to make COVID backdrop. Because I think that COVID, I don't think I've written, this is not the COVID novel, because I think there's just so much more that would have to be in it to make it the COVID novel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand.
What novel would you say it is then?
love, dreams, a certain kind of melancholy, longing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's my most grown-up novel, which is to say that it's my most, the novel in which I'm most willing to acknowledge, even embrace uncertainty. And I don't need to have all the answers, and I don't need to, have it all together. Mm-hmm. I feel like I had a sense of responsibility with Half of a Yellow Sun, for example. Yeah. And with Americana, I was setting myself free from being the good daughter of literature. I was like, I'm just going to do what I want, and I'm going to... And now I feel like I've grown up. So dream counts. Yeah. I mean, of course, it's also my diary, as Trevor said.
It feels like it to me.
It's not.
It really does.
It's the best thing I've heard in a long time.
It really is.
To me, so adorable.
To me, it feels, and you know why it feels like a diary is to what you're saying about like love, right? Every single one of the stories in the book, I think are in many ways an honest reflection of how we experience love in our lives. Funny enough, men and women. I was honestly intrigued by that part of the book. I was going, was it an intentional choice that you made to sort of keep us blind from how the men were experiencing the love and only have it be how the women were thinking that the men were experiencing the love?
Yeah. Because I don't know how the men were experiencing it.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Because it's a book about women's lives.
So that's interesting because like Darnell and, all of these horrible men in the book, their interior lives.
They were not horrible.
I found them, it's my reading.
Okay.
What?
I found a lot of them horrible.
Oh, come on.
How did you find the most horrible?
Oh my God. Well, you guys know I'm anti-men in general, but
yes.
What?
Yeah. My life is just filled with brilliant women.
Yeah, well, okay. Because I have some pretty good men in my life, and I don't know that I could have that rule.
Are they like brothers, family members,
friends?
Yeah, I just speak to them during the night between 9 to 5.
So, but really, back to Trevor's question. Who did you... Wow. Yes, we know that you're...
Okay, so... In terms of who disturbed my spirit the most, that like left me vibrating a bit, Kwame. And that's because I'm postpartum myself, and those scenes of Zipporah like knowing her mother in a new way because of the vacuum of that man not being there was really beautiful to me, because me and my friends talk about all the time, like it took us becoming mothers to actually see our mothers as girls, and like it's a thing, it's a dialogue we're constantly having. Kwame, because of how he behaved and how his family behaved, that created a resentment. I'm like, that's not an honorable person. So like, to me, that's like a horrible man.
That's lovely. No, I love that you're thinking about such things as being an honorable person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole idea of being in love is that you are not, in fact, sophisticated. I mean, there's a kind of lowering of your, just every imaginable barrier and guard that you have when love happens, I think. And Kwame, okay. I mean, could we have some empathy for Kwame? I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Tell me, can you go into that a bit more?
I would love, no, I'm now intrigued.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened.
But on the empathy point, when people listen to this after they've read the book,
yes,
what would evoke empathy?
I mean, I think the question with Kwame would be why. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you think happened? I just feel like something must have happened to him. Speaking of trauma and trauma response, maybe it was a kind of exaggerated trauma response.
This is what I felt while reading the book as a man.
Okay.
I felt like it was, and I'd love to know your perspective as the author, but it's like everyone sees love from their point of view,
Yeah.
Everyone in every story that they tell makes sense from their point of view. So whenever someone's telling me their love story, I have met very few people who tell me the love story where they are the villains in it. I meet very few people who are aware of the elements that they contributed. And I'm always intrigued by that. I'm always intrigued by how people will tell you a love story where they've just been slighted. Yeah. The world has done them wrong. They just keep bumping into these wrong characters. And I'm like, yeah, I know this may be true, but that's only one half of the story.
But is this, do you mean women and men?
Yeah. Yeah, completely. You don't agree?
No, I'm just curious. So men tell love stories about how they were
completely. I think the difference with men for the most part is because we aren't really comfortable with our emotions and naming them, and we don't spend as much time in them, especially with our friends. I think we will water them down, or we'll compress them into a simple feeling like anger. I'm angry. We'll very seldom say like, I felt ashamed. We'll very seldom say like, I felt inadequate. It's just angry.
Yeah,
It's a simple one. But I think men will tell very similar stories to, to the ones that I found in your book, where I'll say to a man friend, what happened? Yeah, she was this and she was that, and it wasn't gonna. And I go like, okay, but what? I understand you, but what was the we? Right? Because every love story has to have a we.
Yes, Trevor, but I'm just worried that we're sort of going into the both sides territory. I think that there are some relationships where one person is the asshole.
Oh, completely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's completely true.
And that asshole may not acknowledge that they were the asshole, but it doesn't mean that they're not. I just feel as though reading this book that's about women's stories about men, I'm struck by how it's been out, 2 weeks. I'm struck by how many people have said to me, what about the men? What about the men's stories? Which is what Trevor is doing.
Yeah. Whoa, and I didn't say that. We can rewind the tape. I didn't say that. I did not say that. Whoa,
you did.
Don't you dare get me.
You did.
No. Don't put me out like that.
You said, how do the men... No, you said something about what about the men's point of view?
I didn't say what about the men's point of view. I would never say that. What I was asking you, because remember, you're the author, you're omnipotent. So what I was asking you was if you chose to keep it opaque on purpose, so you didn't give us the answers about why that happened. The answer doesn't have to do with like the man's point of view, but it's the answer nonetheless. So many of the characters, they don't know why it happened. The person disappears, but they never get the closure. They never get the answer. They're left with this ghost that haunts them. And so what I was asking is like, if you did that on purpose, I don't want to know like, oh, but what was his version of it? I'm more intrigued by why you left us with characters that were sort of unresolved in the answer that they were looking for. That's what like I found like a hook. Does that make sense? And I think there's a difference between the two.
No, there isn't.
Oh, okay.
Because that was very cleverly done, but no. But anyway, it doesn't matter because it just struck me because I think that there is a kind of expectation we have, I think, that in reading that we, maybe even unconsciously, that we still look for the men, if that makes sense. I think if it were a book about men telling their stories, that I don't think as many people would have asked me, well, but what did the women think?
I would have.
Not that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you definitely would have.
But we all know that you're different. Yeah? But anyway, so Trevor, what else do you want to know?
No, I want to know everything. I would actually like to know as well, like, and maybe it's because of Christiana's, just presence in my life as a person. I think you were, other than my mom, probably the woman who's given me the most insight into the, just the nitty gritty of like ugly womanhood, if I'd call it that, as ineloquently as it's unvarnished completely. Yeah. And this book, in a really weird way for me, felt like an extension of the conversations I've had with Christiana. Like when we're talking about the inner workings of a woman's body and how it's quote unquote betraying her in some ways and how it's not doing what it's supposed to do for her. And then even the frustration, there's one line which I'll misquote, but it was essentially something to the effect of how, I forget which character was saying this, but they were basically saying there was almost like a resentment in the fact that their future and the dream and the life they were looking for was tied to men. Mm-hmm. They couldn't achieve that dream without the man being attached to them.
Yeah, and one of my favorite lines is the character that basically says, when you get married, they leave you alone, even if you divorce them. I was like, this is such brilliant Nigerian logic. But it's the truth, because so many of my friends just said, I just got married for freedom. Freedom from the questions, from the judgment.
Oh, because your family leaves you alone. Yeah.
Now you're in your husband's house. I'm not even going to complain about the things you do because you're under his dominion.
Right.
So to speak.
Yeah.
And
often you're actually not. But it's the perception people have. Right, so you're in your husband's house. Nobody knows what you're doing. what sort of life you actually have. So for many women, it's a kind of freedom, really, in a strange kind of way, in a perverse kind of way. Obviously, we want to live in a world where a woman doesn't need to do that to achieve freedom. But if you live in a society that imposes that kind of thing on you,
it would be nice to be in a society that doesn't impose that.
Yes. But that's the reality.
Yes, which is why it can then be a kind of strange freedom.
Which is so unvarnished, because that's not necessarily a thing, even as direct and honest as us Nigerian women are, is what we'd say in a forum that is not private. You know what I mean? It was just like, I felt like in moments you're in the inner sanctum of the things women say to each other that they don't tell other people, that I sometimes tell Trevor.
I felt like that about a lot of it. And I actually had that as a question as well, was, you know, it's strange when it's a novel. I feel like when it's nonfiction, it sort of has a very direct approach. With fiction, like most art, it's at the discretion of the artist. How much are they revealing to you and how much are they not? How much of the book are you intending as a direct commentary on society, and how much are you allowing to live in a complete fantasy? Like, are these rich Africans on purpose? Are they interacting with white liberals on like? And if, because I think you're very intentional, I'd love to know like the why. Like, what are you hoping to reveal to us through those things? Like, you know, it becomes so much more complex. But why do you choose it?
I don't know. I really don't know. See, this is the thing about writing fiction. I don't like the why questions. Because there's a lot that's not. I am intentional. I hate that word, about lectures and essays. Right? I can tell you what I had in mind for The Danger of a Single Story, for example.
Yeah.
But with fiction, it's different. It's so rich African. Because it's true. I mean, because I'm interested in. So I think I write about things that I'm interested in, obviously, right?
Okay.
So when you talk about academia, American academia, I'm interested in that. It's also a world I kind of know because I've spent time there. And so I can write about it with a kind of authority and authenticity, I think.
Yeah.
But it's also because I'm interested in all of the the permutations of American academia. I think Dream Count, I don't like the why questions. I think you could say that Dream Count is, I think in some ways it's part satire, especially the bits that are about academia.
Okay.
Right? But I think as satire always does, there's truth there. Like I'm kind of holding up a slightly mocking mirror to certain things that happen. But I mean, there's also, obviously, I'm writing realism. And so it's kind of, you know, when you say people who read Dickens, and there's a sense in which you could say reading Dickens can give you a clearer sense of London at the time, clearer than reading history. Do you see? I mean,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I kind of like to think that that's what I am doing with my fiction, which is I'm creating art, but there is, of course, also a kind of social and political component to it.
Yeah.
But I don't set out to. I like to think that my points are more blurred in my fiction. So in other words, if I had to write an essay about American academia, I think it would be very blunt.
We're going to continue this conversation right after this short break.
I'm interested because we kind of started this where we're talking about, you know, you don't look at the fame, you don't think about audience.
For fiction.
Are there moments when you're writing fiction when you're like, that feels, I can't go there?
Never.
Never?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So it's kind of, there's a fearlessness that comes with the fiction.
Yeah. I call it a radical honesty.
Okay.
And that's the only way that I can feel happy. Fiction really makes me happy when it's going well. Really makes me happy. And I can tell when, and I, you know, there are a few times in my life when I've held back in my fiction, and I can tell.
Okay.
You know, I can tell that I am, in some ways it's like letting yourself down. I can tell.
Can you say when you felt you held back?
In some of the stories in The Thing Around Your Neck, I think that I held back in a way.
Why did you? I know you don't like the why questions, but why did you?
No, this is a different one, a different kind of why question. I guess because I just felt like maybe I just shouldn't go there. Maybe I shouldn't be as honest as I think. maybe I shouldn't let this character be its full self in a way, his or her full self. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, I think if I learned anything from doing that, it's that it just doesn't make me happy. It doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel authentic. So some of those short stories I don't like, actually. But no, dream count, no. I don't hold back. I go where the character takes me. It's a revelation.
And you have some very direct
from
characters.
above. Yes. But I also think, I feel so strongly about literature and about fiction. I think it's our last frontier. It's only in literature that we can learn things that we cannot learn anywhere else. So journalism cannot tell us about human motivation. Journalism cannot go deep into like the terrain of the human heart, which I think is really key for almost everything in the world. I mean, I really think the psychology of people can explain so much about the world. I mean, just the psychology of the people who are in leadership positions, I think, journalism can't do that. Politics doesn't do that. To write nonfiction, especially about other people's lives, is to be constrained by certain things that you cannot possibly know. But I think fiction lets you just, it's the essential thing, I think, that we need when it's done well.
That kind of...
As was done in this case.
Yeah, and I was going to say that brings us to one of the characters in the book is based on a woman who exists in real life. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, inspired by her. The legal department of my publishers.
Inspired by.
Yeah, we need to use the right language.
Okay.
Inspired by.
Okay.
So inspired by. So I remember when did you follow the story of Dominique Strauss-Kahn?
I didn't actually.
I did at the time.
I now went and read
That's
up
so
on it
interesting.
backwards. Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was really that big in South Africa when this was happening.
It was big in the UK. It was big in Europe. It was a big story.
Yes, and in the US. I mean, until the case was dropped. So this woman who was from Guinea and who worked as a hotel housekeeper accused him of raping her. So she walks into the room to clean it, and there's a naked white man running toward her. And I remember when I first heard about it, I was just riveted by it. And it was also very melodramatic. He was arrested. He was already inside the plane, about to fly to Paris.
Oh, wow.
Where he would then have started his campaign for president. It was almost a done deal that he was going to be the next French president. And so he's arrested, and Americans, as is their wont, did this very dramatic thing of parading him in front of journalists, which I hate.
The perp walk.
I think it's a terrible thing.
Why? Why do you think
Because I think, especially when it comes to sexual assault cases, we really have to be very careful to get it right. Because the world is so deeply immersed in misogyny that there are people looking for the smallest reason to discredit a sexual assault case. And so you imagine the misogynist just aching to say things like, see, this is wrong. We don't know if he did it or not. You're already parading him. I wish they had kept it very quiet. I wish they had gone to court. I wish they had found him guilty. I wish they had publicized the evidence. That would have made me very happy. Because then I think the story would have ended differently. But anyway, so he's arrested and he's let out on bail. And then we're all kind of looking forward to the trial. And then at some point, the case is dropped. And the case is dropped because they said she had lied on her asylum application. And I just remember thinking, I was just shocked. I really was. I almost couldn't believe it. And also just the way that his lawyers talked about her. They just kept repeating liar and lied, liar.
Yeah.
And for the average person watching this, your assumption is going to be that she lied about what had happened. And I think this was also I think they deliberately did that. But in fact, they said she lied about her asylum. And my thinking is, what we're saying to women is, if you ever expect to get justice for sexual assault, then you better be perfect. Like, you better be sinless.
Right.
Which therefore means you better not be human because we're all flawed. I found it really, I felt hurt, actually, and also very angry. So I wrote this very angry essay, nonfiction.
Very blunt.
Which was, my point was, this is bad. And I think I framed it in a kind of, America is not like our, not like Nigeria, not like Guinea. In Guinea and Nigeria, the big man would probably not be arrested at all. So that America did this was wonderful. I felt very heartened by it. But America has disappointed me. And in some ways has failed this woman. But I didn't think I would write fiction about her. I didn't plan to. So when I started writing this novel, again, a character came to me. And so I think it means that even without knowing it, I carried her with me. And then suddenly, something drops into your life and changes it forever. For me, there was just a great sadness there. Like I felt so upset on her behalf. But anyway, so I wrote this character who is not really her because I've invented this character's past life. I've invented this character's interior life. But I have kept the one story about Nafissatou Diallo, that's her name. The story that Nafissatou Diallo tells about what happened in that hotel room. I've kept as close as possible to that version. Because I just think that it's in some ways, I think it's a way of paying tribute to her. But also, it's about so many women like her. It's about women who are powerless and who are not allowed to have dignity. The way she was, the way they talked about her, just it wounded my African spirit.
My parents were all Nwute.
Wutem. It wounded.
It's like it pained.
It wounded me because I just thought this is so wrong. And even the interviews that I mean, I kind of fictionalized it in the novel, but there's an interview where I'm watching her and I'm thinking, they haven't done this right. English is not her native language.
Right.
And so you're asking her about something so intimate and so difficult in a language that she doesn't really speak well. It cannot go well. In some ways, you're setting her up to look as though she's lying. And I remember a friend of mine who said to me at the time that she had watched the interview and she said, "Oh, I don't believe her because she was so dramatic. She was using her hands too much." And that made me very angry as well. I thought, first of all, you don't understand. There's an African world in which that is not dramatic.
We gesticulate all the time.
That is the norm. But also, this woman was put in a position where she had to make up for what she lacked in her ability to express herself.
Right.
So anyway, all of that is to say this character is inspired by Nafissatou Diallo, but isn't her.
It's interesting that you say the thing about the public trials and all of it. I don't know if this is still true, but I believe in Germany, when a case is happening, when you're being investigated, the press isn't allowed to report on it. And they have a very strict system that tries to prevent the press from sensationalizing the case in any way. So it's supposed to be the way you're saying, which I actually think would be good for everyone involved, because I think, number one, there's nothing worse than a public trial because it does not have any of the respect nor the expertise of a trial, right? The most recent example, let's say like the Diddy thing. The amount of random stuff that now comes up doesn't help anything. So what happens is someone can put up a fake piece of a fake, deposition or whatever it might be, and it sullies somebody's case that's not involved with that. Do you know what I mean? But it's just
the spectacle of it all.
It just creates noise and it creates. Another example is the Luigi Mangione.
Oh, but we like to see Luigi.
Yeah, but what I was saying is, I was going like, you tell me how you have that trial when publicly they've already said, the shooter. And when he shot, and how do you now then have a trial of somebody when that's already been done? Yeah. And you see, it's interesting when you say that and you talk about the perp walk. Yeah. I can think of maybe at least 10 examples in the book where the fiction of this book still comments on the realness of America, and it's like a critique on it. So, American academia, how people are discussing issues in and around the world, and how they feel they can and cannot have the discussions. The justice system.
The character says, in America, money is justice.
Yes.
Which was very powerful to me because you just sue.
Yes.
Yeah. That's like...
And I should say that I agree with the character in my just utter horror of this. Yeah. I remember when I came to the US and they would say things like, "Oh, something terrible happened," but the family got money. Somebody was shot maybe, and then somebody would be like, "Oh, the family got money." And I'm thinking, yeah, but why are you talking about it like that's sort of, somebody died,
Yeah.
Yeah, but fundamentally, that's what America was based on. And I think every culture thinks that justice is the thing that the culture most values. You don't think so? Think about if I think about like some parts of South Africa, I remember talking to Kaya about this, friend of mine from South Africa, and his grandfather was a chief in the village. And if they found someone, very seldom, but if somebody stole something or if they did something wrong, you just get beaten, right? You would. You wouldn't get arrested. You wouldn't get put away. You just get beaten. And then they would talk to you and say, please don't do that again. That's all it was. And him and I were joking about it, saying it's interesting how in that setting in particular, in like a village, where many of our grandparents grew up, that was the thing that you like.
Wait, so what was valued? Violence?
No. It was the other way around. Our culture valued non-violence, and our culture valued like the culture itself. It was like a very like, that's not the thing that we want. Do you understand what I'm saying? If the violence takes away from you the thing that the culture holds most valuable, I find. So in some parts of the world, time is the thing that they really look at. Other places in the world think that shame is a more powerful tool. So their sentences may not be as long, but how they handle the case is worse. But I feel like in America, because money, whether we like it or not, money is like almost the foundation of America.
Yeah.
They go, then if we give you money, you have been made whole. And the other person lost money, so they've really been punished.
And also now money being speech.
Yeah.
I mean, in this country, officially.
Completely.
Yeah, so Citizens United. But anyway, let's talk about Dream Count.
But I feel like Dream Count is everything.
I agree with you.
Like, for instance, academia. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
It felt like the book was making a criticism of how America's liberal academia treats discussions, contrarians, arguments, etc. And I found myself reading it, I was like, oh, I wonder how much of this Chimamanda thinks, or is it just the character that's thinking it? Like, what do you think of the current state of America's academia and how students are taught to think or not think?
I think that's fairly obvious.
No, is it though?
I think it's a fair read. And actually, it's a reading that I agree with, which is that, yes, the book is clearly not enthusiastic,
right,
about the form and even the function of American academia today. I mean, obviously. But so you have a woman who's Nigerian and who doesn't know anything about that whole thing, who comes looking for something better than she is, right? So she's come from a life in Nigeria that she thinks she kind of wants to atone for,
right,
in a way. And so America becomes this, I want to find something noble and beautiful and good and honorable, because America is aspirational still, even to people who know that it's a very complicated place. There's still an aspirational element to America. And so she comes and she wants to do a master's and she wants to study pornography. I think we should be able to say that.
Yeah, yes? You can say that, yes.
Okay. So, pornography. And she... So it's interesting for me, as the writer, to look at this world from the point of view of a person who just does not know it and is not familiar with it. Yeah. So this person is just taken aback, surprised, just like, what is going on? And also then she becomes so disillusioned by it. I think if someone wants to read that as a cautionary tale, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay.
I mean, this is what can happen, which is you can make people lose that thing in them that wants to be better and dream and aspire. There's something actually, I think, quite cynical about, and it's not an obvious cynicism, but there's something quite cynical about the way that academia operates. It doesn't feel to me, I don't know, there's something, the beautiful things that are lacking. So it's not just about letting our imaginations be free and we should be able to exchange ideas. It's also just more fundamental things like compassion, and I don't even like to use kindness because that word is so overused and always by people who are spectacularly unkind. So I will not use kindness, but compassion. Do you?
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Empathy.
Yeah. Yes. The ability to understand that there are multiple points of view in the world. It's a very strange thing because, and I'm a person who grew up on a university campus, so academia has always been part of my life. Like it's I I get into a university campus anywhere in the world and I'm already at home. Like, it's just, I feel comfortable. And you will think, and this is what it was like in Nsukka when I was growing up. It was a place of manyness, it was multi ideas, people.
Right.
And that's not the case in America. It's not the case at all. And sometimes it's difficult to talk about because it's, you don't want to, sometimes one doesn't want to agree with one's enemies. So that people...
And who are your enemies?
That's amazing.
There are people on the political right in this country who I think just espouse the most ridiculous ideas, but who also criticize American academia. Mm-hmm. And I think there's truth there. But acknowledging that I just think, oh my Lord, I don't agree with these people. But my feelings come from a different place. Comes from love. Comes from wanting this thing that I love to be better. That's where it comes from.
How or what would your advice be if, let's say there's an aspiring author or even just like a student who loves your work out there, somebody who is in academia right now, they come to you and they say, Chimamanda, I hear what you're saying about empathy and seeing another person's point of view, but I feel like this person who I disagree with, the thing that I disagree with them on is the fundamental humanity or existence of another human being, per se. Because that's what I've heard a lot of people say. They'll go, no. This is not a difference between 30% tax and 20% tax. I'm disagreeing with somebody who fundamentally believes that Black people should not get this, or that this group should not get that, or that, you know what I mean? How would you encourage them then?
But I don't even agree that that's the case. I mean,
you don't agree that that's the case?
No, because I think that
that they're feeling that, or that which part are you not agreeing with?
No, I'm sure that they feel that.
Okay.
But that you feel something doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't. And I think that when you widen the definition of something, so this is somebody who believes that Black people should not have, maybe that person just feels, maybe that person supports school choice.
Okay.
And this is an exact example, actually. I know somebody who is very upset because somebody supports school choice. And then the very strange conclusion was that this person who supports school choice doesn't like Black people. That's not, I mean, you could feel that, but that's not necessarily rational thinking. So I guess my point is, it's either people have become incredibly terrible in the past 20 years, or something has changed in our capacity to have compassion, to be more broad-minded, to think in more complex ways. My point being that 20 years ago, I don't think that this was happening. In other words, universities were places where you could still exchange ideas. You weren't terrified of saying something because you'd be blacklisted for saying the wrong thing. So, which is it? Is it that there are many more people now who fundamentally just have these really odious beliefs about other human beings? You said something about wearing our politics more closely. Is that what it is? And has it then tainted the way we look and the way we judge and the conclusions that we draw?
So, as I say often, I have a very dim view of human nature. It's very Hobbesian. So I've always thought people are terrible, and I still think they're terrible.
I don't think that's true.
I really ask this guy.
Christiana works on it's guilty until proven innocent. That's how she works with all humans.
Talk about generational trauma. I always say to my father and his two brothers miraculously survived Biafra, and considering what they've gone through, they are such good and compassionate and empathetic and non-suspicious people. You would think I went through the war. But then what I tell my therapist is that the generational trauma is that I'm hyper-vigilant. I'm probably speaking nonsense. But what I do say is some people have a more dim view of human nature. And if that is true, because I always say, there are racists need their outlets. Sometimes their Twitter. Like, there are some people who have odious points of view.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's people that do not see my humanity.
Yes.
How do we go from there? Because I think there's an in-between.
Yeah, but I don't think that those are the people we're talking about, though. That's my point.
Oh, okay.
So in these circles that, so people on university campuses who who don't feel comfortable saying what they think are not the crazy racists on Twitter. The crazy racists on Twitter do not interest me because I don't think it's even worth... I mean, there's some people that you shouldn't even bother engaging with or trying to change their minds.
So you're not talking about the fringe or you're talking about maybe the masses, the collective in the middle.
Yes, and the reason that yes, and I think it's important to say that because sometimes I think that instead of talking about that, we then sort of reach for the fringes as examples,
as a justification.
It's kind of also like saying that people who think that women, there are in this country many people who still, I mean, there are people in this government who think that just by virtue of being a woman, you're somehow incapable of certain things, right? I mean, I don't mean those people. So the atmosphere on university campuses today in this country just seems to me, and so when Trevor says and someone says, well, I can't speak to them because fundamentally they believe something that is so, and so that's my point. I'm thinking, did many people suddenly turn, or did our own perception change? Because these people that somehow have become so bad that you can never speak to them again, they're kind of in your circle. I mean, they were there 20 years ago, right? I mean, they're not in the fringes on Twitter.
They're in your community.
Yeah. And so what is it that has happened? It just feels to me a kind of confusing extremeness of reaction and perhaps maybe of opinion. And I don't fully understand it, but I don't trust it. So I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
So this is how I think about it. One, I think social media dramatically changed our perception of where people sit in reality, right? It gave us a flattened view of people because that's what gets the algorithm. It's what ropes us in. So I will see the worst of you. Because the worst of you is what inflames me the most. Or I'll only see the best of you because it attaches me to you. But the nuance is it's boring, So, and they show you this with the algorithms. Like if you sit down with the engineers, they'll show you if somebody writes, it's a lovely day outside, it'll go nowhere. If you say best day ever, it goes somewhere. And if you say worst day ever, it goes somewhere. But if you use adjectives and descriptors that are like, they don't evoke something extreme, it doesn't really do anything. If you wrote a little tweet about a president and you said, this president's not great, but they're also not the worst, and I guess everyone has their flaws, it's not going to go anywhere. You go, this president is destroying this country. They are the worst thing. And I think that started to filter into the discourse in American politics. And I think politicians, I genuinely put a lot of blame at their feet because I think American politicians spent a lot of time using the language that really only wrestlers should use about their opponents, So they would come out there and they would say things like, I remember you weren't there at the Daily Show yet, but in our first few years, we went to New Hampshire for the primaries. And I remember being so shocked at how Lindsey Graham's team was buddy-buddy with Hillary Clinton's team. And Lindsey Graham would send Hillary Clinton birthday messages and talk about her family. When you saw these people on a stage speaking about each other, they didn't even mince words. They would say, this person is going to destroy this country. They're killing this country. And I've spoken to people who are far smarter than me in the world of politics. And they say it all started with Clinton around the Monica Lewinsky. They say that's when American politics became personal and like, quote unquote, evil, not evil. Did
they say it was created by Newt Gingrich?
Yeah. But I think that's where it became a thing. So if your leaders are saying, you see, now this is where now we come back to other politics. One of the things I've loved about going back to South Africa frequently is realizing that even in the doldrums of fighting in politics, I've never heard a politician say the other person is a devil or they're destroying the country or they don't agree with how they're doing it. They'll say they're incompetent at their job. They haven't met service delivery. But I maybe my memory
kind of
those attacks were think of the things that people have said, right, about other politicians, and then think of how incongruous that is with them and how they are with each other. They have lunch together. They have dinner together. They right. What then happens is their fans then adopt a thing that they don't believe in. But now the fans are the ones who control the theater of it all, the spectacle. And I don't know if there's a really amazing documentary I watched about Vince McMahon. It's fascinating. Even if you don't like wrestling, I recommend everybody watch this thing.
Who is Vince McMahon?
Vince McMahon is the man who basically made wrestling what it is today, right? I promise you now, it's even better if you don't like wrestling, in fact. Go and watch it. And one of the most revealing...
Trevor, life is so short.
Let me tell you...
So much I want to watch.
I would not recommend this to you if I did not believe it would give you an insight into America that very few documentaries can, right? Because one of the main things it shows you is how, like, there's a point where, long story short, the wrestling federations are splitting. And the wrestlers decide, before these, like a few of the wrestlers leave, they decide they're going to give each other a big hug on the stage, and they'll basically drop the facade. And you should see the crowd and the way they react. The crowd, I was like, but surely they know that it's not real.
So the crowd got very angry.
They were furious. They were like, how could you? How could Shawn Michaels hug, Triple H? How it was, and I was like, oh yeah, this in many ways is what I think has happened with American politics. And to your point, the discourse, the leaders said, these are our enemies. People then adopted that. Yeah, how do you now discuss with your enemy?
I think we're putting too much blame on politicians.
Oh no, I'm not putting all of it.
And not enough responsibility on
individuals.
Yeah, and then also, which came first? What you said about social media, I agree more with, which is, this whole politician thing. You think everybody watches politicians?
I think everybody's affected by them. I think Donald Trump has shifted.
Yeah, but he's running a cult. That's a bit
different. But aren't they all in some way, shape, or form?
The Democrats is a bad cult.
No, but it's still. But I'm saying, like, let's take the Democrats away. Yeah. Let's look at people, because the Republicans also weren't great. Obama, Trump.
Yeah, culty.
Right?
Yeah,
we talked about it with Josh, where he said that's why he calls him White Obama. He says, and people get angry, and I understand why. But on that episode when we talk about it with Josh,
calls Trump White Obama.
So he says what Obama represented to so many people, especially black people, Trump represents to like so many white people, where they go, this is our moment, this is our the sort of lost dream, the lost idea. And it's a comedy premise, but he's not going, these are the same people. He's just saying for them, that is their promise.
You say one speaks to the darkness, the other speaks to the light. Yes. There's an overlap in their voters, and they both speak to some aspirations, but in different ways. That's the argument.
It's hope, but in different directions.
Okay.
Obama goes hope.
You're not sold. I love it.
No, I'm not.
Chimamanda is not sold on anything, though.
I like it.
No, this is.
She's great.
No, this is not true. That's good.
This is true. The same way Cristiano's not sold on. I don't expect to sell you on something.
No, I am sold on something. No, I'm just thinking about it, and whatever. It's not interesting to me.
So I will say this, I think it's a lot harder. Mm-hmm. I understand where a student or any person comes, and to talk of empathy, I understand it in all ways, to be honest with you. I can see somebody who goes, no, this country, we have to completely change this, and it's gone to the dogs, quote unquote. But then I also understand somebody who says, a lot of the language you're using, or a lot of these ideas, you don't even know where they came from. So you may be thinking of it just through the lens of school choice. But for many people who have like dug into the trenches of where ideas come from, you start to realize that some of the ideas are innocuous in their sound, but where they were written, you know what I mean? Like how they were created.
That's fair. But the person who supports school choice does not know.
I agree with that.
It's history.
I agree with that completely.
And then there's the assumption that person should know, and then that person is judged on that, and then that person is ignored and blacklisted, but that person does not know.
Yes.
And it's also this new world where you're not even allowed, curiosity is dead. And I, as a person who I love learning, and I just keep thinking, what have we lost in this new sort of world where people don't even to ask a question, you're uncomfortable. I remember when I spoke at an Ivy League university, which will be unnamed, and so I had a few of the students in a sort of private meeting where because I like to know what young people are really thinking, away from the grown-ups. And so we started talking, and then I said, any of you are like uncomfortable to say what you really think? Everyone was like, no. And then one person goes, yeah, but sometimes. And suddenly all of them were like, yeah, sometimes. And even that struck me because I remember thinking we've gone from that kind of almost forced conformity to suddenly thinking, okay, maybe I can actually say what I'm really thinking. Right. Mm-hmm. And there was something about it that just made me sad because I thought they were graduating. And I thought, what have they lost out on learning in the 4 years they've been here? Because they've been too unsure, uncomfortable about asking questions. And again, so what I mean about these kids are not the fringe on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But they already know that I better be careful, otherwise somebody will think that I'm a person who hates black people. Yeah, no, do you see what? Yeah. And so I don't know. It just made me so sad.
Do you think that's a byproduct of who actually holds the power in universities? You know, like you see funding being pulled. You see rich donors saying, if you teach that, then I'm pulling my funding.
I think a large part of America's academia problem is money. There's just so much money that, even the entitlement of the students is about money.
I mean, the school fees are high.
They're high, right? They are high. And so students feel like, well, I've bought this. I mean, when I taught creative writing at Princeton when I was doing a fellowship. And I remember a student coming to me and saying, you gave me a C. I've never gotten a C in my life. And I was like, how is that my problem? Your paper? I said, I can show you why. I mean, so I thought if the student had come to me to say, I want to prove to you that you've kind of, here's why I should not get the C. Here's the thing on my paper. But no, the student said, I have never had a C in my life. This is my first C. And so I want you to change it. And so my first thought was, I don't blame you. Maybe your father gave money to Princeton. But my dear, this is your grade because this is what you wrote in your paper. And we can discuss your paper. But I feel like, so it's money, no, really. And then, they have so much money in the endowments, but there's, people are giving them money. And so they have special dinners for them. And so money, I think, is a major problem. And that's happening so much more. This whole, I will withhold my promised grant if you don't do. And then I think Israel-Palestine has really made that so much more, whether like if you're doing that, therefore. And I just think, I also just wish that universities were not so beholden to people who have money, because then I think they would be more courageous. I think there's very little courage left in the public space. That's what I mean about longing for. I'm like Omelogo in Dream Count. I'm longing for what is noble, what is beautiful. I want heroes. I want people I can look up to and admire and learn from. I think there's a large part of me that is disillusioned, disappointed, even heartbroken. I hide it in sarcasm, but it's all there.
Yeah. Don't go anywhere, because we got more What Now after this. Do you think there's a part of you that not wishes, or I wonder if, this happens to everyone in the public space. You and I were talking about this. I've experienced this. Almost everyone has. There will be a moment where it feels like you are a hero, and then it feels like the natural part of that journey is to now be the villain, or to have and I don't know if it's art imitating life or vice versa.
So like you're placed high up that the only
like
is to come down.
I think about how if you and I had a conversation, I remember our first conversation, it was like I was speaking to Jesus. No, really, that's how people, Chimamanda, they're like, wow, you're going to speak to Chimamanda. Oh, wow, I ask her how but it was such in a beautiful way, but people were like, wow, your words were gospel and this whole thing. And then I remember saying now to people, I was like, I'm going to speak to Chimamanda. And they were like, woo, yeah, it gets you in trouble. Just so you know, you might get in a little trouble. There might be, that's
interesting to know.
Yeah, no, you're not on social media, I guess, but I don't know if it's because people wish for it to be the natural progression, or if, sort of going to what we started with, your fame sort of metastasizes for some people where they wish for you to be. They create an idea of everything that you must think. And if you deviate at any point from what they think you think, then they go, the whole thing must come down. Does that make sense?
That's interesting. How would it get you in trouble, though?
How would what get me in trouble?
Talking to me.
Oh, everyone has a different opinion on why. Some people will be like, oh, you're going to talk to her, she's anti-trans. Are you going to talk to a transphobe? And then I'm like, I don't think Chimamanda's transphobic. And they're like, you better check. Then someone else will go, oh, she's right-wing leaning. And I'm like, I'm pretty certain Chimamanda's not right-wing leaning. Then they're like, no, you see what she says about anti-cancel culture. And then I go, okay, now this is me as Trevor. What I always try and do for myself is I try and at all costs form my own opinion on something and then allow the world to, in some way, shape or form, bump up against that opinion because I don't live in isolation. But when I read your piece on how it wasn't cancel culture, you said something was beautiful, it was about, was it purity or, forgive me, I remember the message, but not all the words. But I remember reading it thinking, damn, this is a really insightful, messy and honest view on how we're dealing with conversations in society. You're failing a purity test and we're writing people off. And I've said this to you 1,000 times, Christiana. I go, guys, it's not sustainable to lose your whole family because your uncle said this thing. I was like, politicians will come and go. Topics will come and go. The people in your life hopefully won't. I'm a big fan of that, right?
This is the reason I'm not on social media.
I come for it from a different perspective. I think I hate how in America it's like, you're right, you're left, you're right leaning. Because I think people contain multiple ideological positions on some issues, on some right-wing leaning on what? Left-wing, there is no one.
Yes,
but
it's
I think
buffet politics.
I don't know, what are right-wing ideas? I mean, even that has shifted,
How do you define
right?
this?
But that's true.
Which is why it's not about, and I agree with you that we're not pure. I mean, and especially when you're a person who comes from, the reasonable regions of the world, that is Africa, Asia, Latin America, the Middle East. You kind of understand, you have uncles who, I have relatives who still think that women really should not be working outside the home. Mm-hmm. And, and then there's me. And we still happen to get along.
Yeah.
And I think that there's certain views that, some of my views have changed as I've become older. Even I think in some ways my feminism has changed. I think, for example, when I was younger, I didn't want to talk about women's bodies because I felt that this is how they stigmatize women. I felt like, no, nobody should talk about PMS because they use that to justify excluding women. They'll say things like, how can a woman be president when she has PMS? She's going to press the button, right? But now I realize actually men press the button without PMS as an excuse. So maybe women are still the better choice, right? Because if we can just get the hormones stable, then we're fine. But men, hilarious. My God, no PMS and they're just doing crazy things. So, but that has changed for me.
I can list people in every field, comedians who say, now I say a thing that's a joke. It used to be agreed that this was a joke. We all knew that this wasn't real. It's fiction. I do not want to kill my mother-in-law. And now someone goes, for you to be furthering the idea of violence. You're like, no. That, like Jimmy Carr says it really beautifully, the British comedian. He had this thing that he used to play at the beginning of his shows in response to this. And he'd have a message that would come on and it would say, hello, I'm Jimmy Carr and I'm a comedian. I want you to know that I'm going to be making some jokes about terrible things tonight. But remember, these are jokes about the terrible things. These are not the terrible things. The jokes are not making the terrible things, and the jokes are not changing the terrible things, but these are the jokes about the things. So have a good time. These are jokes. But I was amazed that even he had to put that in his show. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I do think, though, that I can tell you that there's certain jokes I will not laugh at. There's certain things I refuse to laugh about.
But that's fine. That's comedy. It's like there's some people who don't like spicy food. I judge them, but I don't mind that they do it.
I don't think that's a good analogy.
Why not?
Because when I say I won't laugh, it's not like, it's just my taste. It's more that I think, in some ways similar to what you said about school choice.
Yes.
About how there are people who know that maybe deep down in the language or in the foundation of that idea, there's something that's actually quite, toxic. Or
there's something pernicious in it. Yeah.
So that's what I mean about there's certain jokes I won't laugh about because I think that there's certain jokes that are not just jokes. I think sometimes people are not laughing with you, they're laughing at you.
But I think this is a dangerous road to go down because you're a fiction writer. So someone could say to you, Chimamanda, your book, this cannot exist in because it is not. It is
No, cannot exist. So here's the difference.
Yeah,
I will not laugh at that joke, but I'm not going to say you cannot say that joke.
Okay. No. But then we understand. But that's what I mean by it. That's why I'm saying it is taste. So comedians, and we love even doing this as comedians. We'll be in a show. We'll watch a comedian tell a very racist joke. We'll go, that's funny, and it's racist. And as comedians, we say the craft of what the person is doing in terms of making a thing funny, they've done. But we're also acknowledging the roots of it. It is racist. The same way I can look at like food. And I go like, this food is poisonous, but it's delicious. Do you know what I mean? And so I think we're on the same page there. I'm not saying people should laugh at everything the same way I don't think people should enjoy every book or every point of view, etc. However, that's why I think, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. But Trevor, I want to go back to you. Asked me a question about making a decision sort of almost solo on your own versus, and I don't think of it as that kind of clear-cut dichotomy because I don't think it's even possible.
I wasn't saying clear-cut. I was saying more like, how do you find the balance? Like, what do you think the responsibility is? Because I don't think it's clear-cut, but you exist somewhere on that spectrum.
I exist on the. I'm sort of right-wing leaning. I lean towards thinking.
Okay.
I really believe in sort of lucid thinking.
Yeah.
So, and I like clarity. And, I'm a writer. I also like words to mean what they mean. I like clarity of language. I like clarity of thought. I like thinking about things. And, from the time I was a little girl, I just was never a person who went along with what I was supposed to do or believe. I've always kind of wanted to wait. I want to sit with this for a while and think about it.
Right.
But also I want to make decisions based on knowledge and information. So I'm very keen on learning. Like if there's a subject and so I want to go read about it. So AI, I've been reading books about AI because I don't know what the hell that's about. So now I know things like there's generative AI, there's predictive AI. And did you know about the training models? But so when I say make up my own mind, it's not that I just sit there with nothing. I want to gather information and then I want to process it for myself.
You're a student.
Yes, I'm a student. And I always want to be a student. But what I can tell you is that I'm never going to be swayed by criticism. Never. That's never going to happen. I am the daughter of James and Grace Adichie, and it's not going to happen. That's it. That I have my opinions. I can have conversations with you about why I have those opinions. And I'm also very keen to know why you disagree.
Yeah.
If you're a person who can actually make coherent sentences about why you disagree. So
you encourage the discourse and the dialogue, but it has to be grounded in, I guess, intellectual curiosity. And it seems like from reading your essays and your work, a mutual respect.
Yes.
Because the affront to you is just like, don't be disrespectful, which is how I feel. Don't disrespect me or I'm going to leave.
Exactly. Yes. If there's disrespect, I will not take it. I'm just not going to. And I think also, I remember once saying to somebody, I was loved. And I am loved. I had the best parents in the world. So I do not need to campaign for your love.
Yeah.
I don't need to change myself for you. If you like me, I'm happy that you like me. If you don't like me, I'm still me. And I wish that was easier for more people, especially women.
There's a line in the book where one of your characters is basically talking about, I think, like how the world is shaped. And they basically say something to the effect of, it's almost like America doesn't know that the world isn't America.
Yes. And only America is America.
Yeah, and I remember having this discussion with a friend of mine who was taken aback because they really felt offended, and I understood why. It was.
Trevor, is there anything you do not understand?
No, I try to understand most things genuinely. I think everything
that, by the way, was a joke.
Oh, everything's understandable, but I'm just like agreeing is different. I think. So, I remember
you would make a good fiction writer. This is actually how we're supposed to see you're supposed to kind of understand everybody's point of view without necessarily agreeing.
Because he's biracial and he was born in apartheid
yeah,
stuff.
I
He didn't
think
fit anywhere, so he had to
No, I
understand.
think so in many ways. I think
the different vantage points.
I've been trained from my birth to be that way as a person. So I had no one way of eating food. I had no one way of celebrating a Christmas. I had no one way of speaking a language. I had no one way of my hair looking, my face looking. I had no one way of my country being. So I've never believed that there is a one way. You get what I'm saying? So I remember like one of the first ones that came to me was, I remember I told this as a joke in one of my shows long ago, but I said, I always found it interesting that people would mock someone with another accent. But I go, but somebody who has an accent, it means that they're fluent in another language. And that was something that, so for me, when you talk about understand, I would always go, yeah, if somebody has a funny accent, it can be funny, but don't ever forget that it means that they speak another language fluently. That's why they have the accent. And so when I think of these things, I was doing shows in the Middle East, and my friend said to me, hey man, I mean, aren't you conflicted? You go to the Middle East and you do shows, and I said, what do you want me to be conflicted about? And they said, well, I mean, their views on gay marriage. And I said, it's interesting that you asked me this because America's views on gay marriage are not as old as you think. Like this is a now thing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we have to remember homophobia is alive and well in America.
But what I'm saying is, what got me with that was I was saying, I'm not dismissing it. Far from it, you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, it's interesting how, for me, when America has finished with an issue or has decided a place, it then now goes, that is correct now for the world. Yep. So before gay marriage is accepted in America, Americans go like, no, gay marriage is, no, God, Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Come on, we all agree on this. America says gay marriage, and then America goes on a conquest around the world, pointing at every country to be like, where's your gay marriage? And then I go, guys, how old is the UAE as a place, like as an actual country? How old is it? And I go, if you look at the advancements they've made in the time that they've been a country versus how long it took America to get to those places, it's actually pretty impressive. Now, you want them to do it overnight because you've already agreed upon it, but you're not giving them their time to get to it, which I think we all do as people. Why have you not found Jesus yet? I found Jesus. Then you're like, yeah, but there was a time when you hadn't found Jesus. Yes, but now that I found him, why don't you find Jesus? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, when you say we all do it, I don't think we all do it. But anyway.
Oh, maybe you do.
I don't.
Yeah, no, but I think when I say all, I mean the collective, you know?
But you know what's interesting? And it's true. It's true about Americans. And I think it comes from, I mean, just listening to you and, this person says to you, aren't you conflicted? And then you're saying, let's look at the UAE. How old is it?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, that American point of view often comes from a place of just not knowing very much about the world. And also I sometimes feel that arguments in this country are not rooted in information and knowledge. It's not just that often they can feel like performances, but it would be nice if, so someone said, why aren't you conflicted? And someone else says, no, I'm not conflicted. Well, people like jokes, and so I'm going to go where people like jokes. I think that's kind of what you would often hear in America.
Okay.
Rather than, how old is the UAE? How long does it take a society to evolve? What are the changes that have happened that speak to a certain kind of hopeful progressivism? That doesn't happen. So, Trevor, you need to start classes.
I mean, this is the class.
No, which you teach people how. No, but really, I'm just thinking, and I think it is true about really a lot of things. I just wish that sometimes if there was a huge issue of the day, outrage of the day, that people would be like, I'm not going to have an opinion until I've read a book about it.
Like, take a bit. You know what? Trevor's the king of that. Not the book, but remember at the show, the Daily Show, I think it was Jussie Smollett is the example always come to mind. Jussie Smollett, the incident happened where he said he was assaulted by these Trump people. We're doing the meeting, we're watching the videos, and, people are like, oh, this is so outrageous, this is so sad. Myself, who's like Trotsky on the far left, and another writer who I won't name, but is pretty right-wing, we both said, there's something not right. And Trevor said, you see these two people? They never agree.
I did say that.
And he's like, guys, let's pause. Trevor said, we're not gonna cover this.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go for like MAGA racists. and we had all the roles because it's a big production to get all these clips. We had all the roles. People had their takes. People had made jokes about how it was. And Trevor was like, let's take a beat. And this was like on the Monday or Tuesday. Wednesday, more's coming in. You know, people are saying justice for Jussie Smollett, like Kamala Harris. Everyone's tweeting. Trevor's still like, let's take a beat. I think it wasn't until like Wednesday or Thursday it emerges that, you know, the story wasn't what he was professing it to be. And Trevor was like, okay, now we're ready. And I always think about that when a story breaks or there's some hot button issue. Because I'm always like, I'm quite fiery, as you may have gathered. I used to be of the view of like, this is my opinion. But Trevor's very good at, let's take a beat. Let's read more. I used to get frustrated because I'd be like, this happened to these people, they're dying. And Trevor said, well, people die every day. We can't we have to have an informed response to what's happening.
I feel the same way.
So here's where I have a compassion for people. I think it's unfair for us to expect that of people because they are living in the world that they're living in.
Yeah.
You know? No, I honestly.
So unfair to expect it of everyone?
Yes, I think. I'll tell you why.
No, I'm sorry, Trevor.
Yeah, you can disagree,
people
but let me
have
explain.
a certain responsibility. It's unfair to expect it of people who are deep inside something. So, for example, to say, if you said to me, it's unfair to expect people in Gaza, or it's unfair to expect people who lived through what happened in Israel to be rational or objective.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But the average person, no.
Okay.
We have a responsibility.
But now here's
So are you Jesus then? Are you above everyone else? How come you? No, but really.
No, let me explain.
How come you?
Let me explain why. Okay, let me explain why.
Because this argument, I'm going to say that the foundation of it is very self-aggrandizing.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I love it.
So here's what I think. I think we all have areas where we are able to see what others cannot see. It might present itself differently. I think LeBron James sees things on a court that most human beings cannot. That just happens to be his area where he sees it. There'll be things that I see that other people cannot. You can choose a field, you can choose a world. There are people who see things that others cannot. I think in society, once we created institutions, we basically outsourced that expertise to institutions in a very good way, and that became a lot of what advanced society, right? And so, let's think of it this way. Let's look at a nutrition label on a box of something or food when they would say healthy or whatever. People are relying on the fact that food has been inspected and so it is healthy and so they will ingest it.
Yeah, but
right?
that's kind of different though.
No, but why?
Different from there's a new outrage of the day, like this story that you told of the guy who said someone had mugged him.
Yes.
And suddenly people have opinions. My thing is, often people don't.
But there's no book to read on that. What do you want them to do?
But I think we're not disagreeing all the way. Are you talking about the reflexive urge to take a side?
Yes.
And you want people to take a beat?
Yes.
I'm with you
so
completely on this.
My thing, and so I often also say, go to the primary source. Like, so sometimes someone will forward something to me. Is this true? And I'm just like, where did you get this from?
But Chimamanda, I think you are overestimating people's ability to even know what the source should be. Like, I went to journalism school and sometimes I've been tricked.
But that's
I've been tricked by
In what way?
You know, there's sometimes it's just like I think it was an AI thing. I was sent something recently and I was momentarily duped until I dug a bit deeper and I was like, oh, this is not true. This is manufactured. And I think we assume people to be a lot more literate than they are. And that's not coming from an arrogant place. We're just flooded with information. And I tell you, I'm like, sometimes I get WhatsApp forwards from my auntie. I'm like, Auntie, where did you, especially during COVID, chew ginger. And I was like, Auntie, but she was like, no, don't get the vaccine, chew ginger and you'll be fine, right? And to task that person with finding the truth, a lot of people don't know where to start, especially where we are being flooded with misinformation.
True.
So I think Trevor's saying maybe we should have a bit more grace because not everyone is able to maneuver in the same way.
I'm saying that we should not take for granted the fact that the systems have been corrupted in such a way that the people who are looking for the thing are often the ones who are duped the most. A perfect example is vaccines, right? Most of the parents who don't want to get their kids vaccinated read more than the parents who get their kids vaccinated. They go out there and they say, I want to do the research. I want to learn. I want to inform myself. What is a vaccine? What's going into my child? What's happening? And because of that and the information that they then get their hands on, they then make the decision to not vaccinate their child because they think that they have been able to do, quote unquote, more research than an institution or than a body of science or medicine. And so in the same way, you've gone and you've read a book on artificial intelligence, that's what I think a lot of people are doing. And I'm not saying you are doing this, by the way, but then someone might go, no, I've read a book on artificial intelligence. Ergo, I now know it for myself. And it's like, no. Trust me, a data scientist and an engineer who's actually coded that, they know it more than you do. The book has tried to give you some sort of introduction to it, but the expert is still the expert of it. And so I think what I mean by all of this is America's an example. I used to think that a lot of America's decisions were from like a lack of knowledge. And I think it is in many ways, but I also think it's like the history of the place, right? Look at what America was when it becomes this world power. It's a coming together. It's a university of everyone. The brightest thinkers, the smartest from Eastern Europe, the most brilliant from like the UK. It's just this melting pot of the most brilliant human beings who've come together. And you could argue at some point, America is the bastion of like science and freedom and ideas and thinking, and the schools are different, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think like most systems, or even like most people, you can think that will just maintain itself, but you might be stuck in time. And so I think America still thinks that it is ahead of the world in everything because it may have been at a time. But I have a lot of compassion for people who are in that system, because I go, it's Plato's cave. If you're in the cave, how can you know that you're in the cave if the cave's telling you that it's not a cave? It's the only world you've ever been in. So how do I give you that responsibility? I think we should put the responsibility at the feet. The same way, I don't think it's our responsibility to recycle. I think it's the government's responsibility to make sure that the things that need to be recycled aren't even made in the first place.
So I think both things can be true, though.
I'm with you. They're my sister, 100%.
Because, I mean...
No, they're 100%.
And because I really do believe in the idea of experts. I really do. Like I want... And this is also the thing I often say, I want a president who knows more than I do. Like, I want someone in every country that But anyway, that's not the case. But yes, we want experts. And yes, misinformation is increasingly a problem. But I think there is still, and what you said about people who read about vaccines, I mean, I take your point. But I think that those people, is it fair to say that they have already started with a kind of conspiracy theory point of view, which will then, I think, shape where they read? Because if we are talking about experts, maybe they should go to the CDC website, but they don't.
To that point, though, what I think there is no center right now. When we're talking about the.
So that's the point. That's what I mean about even the idea of experts has become corrupted.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because don't forget, the CDC were the same ones who told people not to wear masks.
Yes.
Because they actually just wanted to make sure masks didn't get run out, masks weren't taken away from the doctors. But they lied to the people.
More honest about that.
You see. Yeah. So now, imagine somebody going, wait, they lied.
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, but we lied for good reasons. The same way like any child therapist will tell you, your kid doesn't care why you lied. They just know that you lied. Yeah. And now they know that lying is allowed, even though mommy or daddy says lying is not allowed, because they've watched your actions. And I think that's what I mean is like, if somebody has been lied to by the CDC about, maybe they had good intentions, but they've been lied to. How do they now then trust that same CDC versus now the account that told them something else, and then that account happened to be true? And you just need like a few truths to start sprinkling in the rest of the lies. Right? If your baseline...
But that's CDC action. How do we feel about it? I mean, can we really not make a distinction between...
I think it was terrible.
So do I.
Yes.
But does it cause you to then distrust everything the CDC says?
No, I think for most rational people it doesn't. But we're in a heightened time where there is just like a lot of institutional distrust. I mean, my husband thinks I'm susceptible to cults.
No, but I think everyone is.
Like,
I think everyone is.
Not just what the algorithm feeds you, but it's been a destabilizing few years. And I think everyone's asking themselves this question, what is true? And what do I believe? What am I? And that's why because of the fear, we're going to all these extremes. And for a lot of people, they're just like, the CDC did this one thing wrong. Forget the CDC.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Whether that's right or not, I can't really judge. But I think there's just so much mistrust.
Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest reasons I do love fiction. one of the biggest reasons I love fiction is because I do not have to question whether it's real or not. And then I'm more susceptible to the message that it's giving me. I mean this, honestly.
You said it's the last frontier.
Yeah.
Because when it is fact, who said this? What's the data? What's the information? And we do episodes on this all the time. We talk about these things. The data's flawed. The study was flawed. The people running. But with fiction, I just go, this is the world you've created. I don't have to question its realness, but the messages I can completely accept, disagree with, respond to, because in a weird way, fiction creates the most real reality.
It does. It does. You couldn't have said it better. Bravo! People should read more novels and short stories.
I agree.
And sometimes even the old ones, because there's just lovely wisdom in them, I think. I mean,
do you have any favorites you'd recommend?
Old or recent?
Old.
I really like Middlemarch. I think it's very long, but it's very wise and just really, I was going to say teaches you, but actually it does.
Yeah.
In a way that you're having fun, but you're also learning, and you're in the hands of a very wise writer. There's a wonderful writer from Poland who wrote this book called The Beautiful Mrs., and I cannot pronounce the name, Seidenman. But if you just go The Beautiful Mrs., I'm sure Google will fill it
will come up.
I also just find it very wise. I love realism. I don't really like speculative fiction. I'm not interested in science fiction. And I just feel like I learned the most from novels because I learn about human beings. And I think it helps me understand the world and helps me... Oh, there's something I forgot to say, which I have to say. Which is... So I increasingly am fascinated by how what people think is sophisticated is in fact not at all. I mean, there's a sense in which the arguments and the positions are really incredibly simple and simplistic. But the people who talk about them think that they're very sophisticated.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about that because of what you said about a certain kind of maybe an insufficient self-knowledge. So in other words, the way that America thinks that it is still leading the world,
yes,
is the same way that I think certain people in America think that they're incredibly sophisticated in their thinking, but actually it's very provincial and simple.
Yes, that I can agree with.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Imela.
Thank you very much. For real, this was too much fun for me.
So, Miss Trotsky, tell me more about you.
Because no, I'm not God. I don't want any. I don't any trouble.
Thank you very much.
You know what? The more kids you have, the harder the pregnancies become. Because if you got pregnant now and you had to run it after
well,
you're
now I'm
older
58, that'd be pregnant. Like, be hard for that reason.
No, you could.
Is that
Get the
real
kids at
though?
home.
Are you sure that you're 58?
I'm positive.
No, I ask you this. I ask you this because like some people don't know. Like maybe you don't. Like, are you sure?
He's like your biological.
1966, August 14th. I'm 58.
He's like your biological age. That's what he's asking.
Well, my glycan age is 40. I just did that.
That makes, there you go. That's
I just
what I
did
mean.
that. That's my glycan age.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
I don't think some
my
people
metabolic
age
age.
the same way calendars work.
Yeah.
And I think you're one of those people.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you.
If we had to repopulate another planet, I would pick Halle Berry as one of the people.
Of course.
Because I'd go like...
Helen of Troy, basically.
Yeah,
right?
essentially. That's what I would do.
Stop there.
It's so good to have you here, by the way. Thank you so much for joining us.
happy.
This is...
Thank
Can I
you.
tell you, I don't think I've had more fun researching somebody than researching you before this conversation, because half of the things that I found seemed like conspiracy theories, but they're true. Because you type Halle Berry, and then all of a sudden, like, the first thing that popped up was Halle Berry intimacy gel. And I was like, wait, no, this is, and I thought it was my search engine. I was like, no, sorry, wait, this is, no, me, Halle Berry, what is she doing? And then it was like, Halle Berry, herpes. And I was like, whoa, no. What is happening to my algorithm? And then when I read through everything, I was like, oh, wow, Halle Berry is doing everything right now.
Is she?
I mean, you tell
Wow.
me, like it feels like, in the same way that menopause is a moment of transformation for women, it feels like you are in a menopause of life and you're turning something that people would commonly think of as the end into a new beginning.
Well, yeah, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. I am approaching my second act and I couldn't be more excited. You know, when you find a there and you connect to what you know is a greater purpose. Like we always ask ourselves when we're here, but what is my why? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? I've figured out what that is. And there's joy and there's peace and there's comfort and there's confidence in that, right? And so that's where I'm at.
And what is that? If you were to distill the purpose down, what is it for Halle Berry?
It is to be a voice for women in midlife, a time of life that we have been so forgotten and so underserved and underappreciated. And I realize that I have been chosen to be a voice, not the voice, but a voice, a loud voice in this space to talk about what it looks like to be in our second act, what it looks like to be in midlife, what does longevity really look like for women, right? Because we're living longer, but we've been in poor health. And why is that?
Yeah.
Right? And why can't we redefine ourselves? And we are here for more than baby making. That's a wonderful, glorious thing that we do, but we're here for so much more than that. But the world has told us after we do that, we're done. I'm here to say, no, that's not true. That's not true. And how are we going to live this thing out in our best health?
So, Halle, I'm so curious because this is something me and my friends talk about a lot, that we know like all of our mothers went through menopause, but they've never discussed it with us, right?
Like so they've never said anything to... Is this like an African mother thing? Or?
No, just all of this.
Oh, wow.
All my girlfriends,
mothers.
black, white. We're always like, we're like, when are, perimenopause? Like, we have lots of questions because we're like, a lot of us are going into perimenopause now, right?
Yeah.
And it's like...
Wait, for those who don't know, what is...
Perimenopause is a period before menopause, which is chaotic and very difficult for women. And you have like memory loss and anxiety
And I think peri is the worst. Once you get in the menopause, like you're kind of on the other side of it. It's the peri is where it's the hardest. I'm still in peri too. And I'm like, man, I got 3 more months and then I'm going to be in the menopause if I don't menstruate. And man, I'm going to be so happy to be in that menopause.
But like most women don't actually know what perimenopause is, right? So it's debilitating. And me and my friends of all backgrounds, we talk about the fact that our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers must have gone through this.
Of course they do.
They haven't given us this guidebook. Do they even have the language
They don't.
for what they went through? And I'm curious how you came to it and were like, I'm going to use this as transformation, because from my perspective and from our friends, it's just something that's shrouded in shame. Like it's a conversation we still haven't even had with our own mothers.
Yeah.
And you're like out here really publicly claiming it.
Well, I, like you, didn't know what perimenopause was. Nobody talked to me either. But I did have this feeling that I was going to skip it. I thought I got myself off insulin at an early age. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I got off insulin. I got off oral medication, and I found a way with food and using, food as medicine to get off insulin. And I thought, whatever this perimenopause thing is that happens to women around this time, I'm going to skip it. Because look what I did with the diabetes diagnosis. So I'm just going to skip this whole shit. Well, no, I didn't skip that whole shit. I realized that I was in it, and Trevor's heard this, so I'm not going to go into the gruesome details because I think...
No, you should.
No,
you should.
please, you
because I individually have heard it, but like I think it's important for everyone to...
No, not everyone's heard it, and it's important to know.
I really think it's very important to hear it, genuinely. Because I'll tell you, before you even tell it, I'll tell you why I think it's important. So I think... I love what you said about being chosen. My mother always says, sometimes you're not chosen because somebody chooses you. You're chosen because you are the best person in the best position to do something about something.
Yes.
And that's sometimes what being chosen means.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think in a weird way, I feel like in this moment in your life, everything that was put on you, some of it good and some of it even as a burden, has almost become like the chariot that you're going to ride into this thing on. Does that make sense? And so I think the story is very important because nobody is brave enough to tell it, and not many people are interesting enough to tell it, to be honest with you. And I think that's important because I heard this like with a few guys as well, and it was interesting to see guys just be like, oh wow, we got to get into this. We got to like, I don't know how to explain it. I think it was cool to see a story being told in a way that it affects women.
Yeah.
But men are affected. Men live with women. Like, you're in our world. You're in our lives.
Sure.
Okay, well, pretend you didn't hear it.
I didn't hear anything. Okay. I didn't hear anything.
And do all the oohs and ahs and gasp and all the right
moments. We're fully in, girl.
Okay,
we're fully in.
Okay, so how I found out was, I've been divorced 3 times. That's okay. I'm proud of that, right? Having the courage to leave when something's not right. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So I'm not ashamed of that. But I have been divorced 3 times. I finally meet what I thought, and I now know to be my person. And we are firing on all cylinders. We're getting along, and we're having the most amazing sex. I didn't even think it was possible to have something so great at this time in life. I really didn't. After 3 divorces, I kind of thought, well, I'm kind of done. And I'm cool with that. But I meet this person and we're just having the best time. All of a sudden, a year into our relationship, we had a great night of sex. I wake up in the morning and I do what we always do. I go to the bathroom. Well, I think I'm going to go to the bathroom. I sit down on the toilet. I cannot go to the bathroom. My body just sort of seizes up and I can't go. And I start to let a little bit out. And it's the most excruciating pain I have ever felt. Besides having a cornea scratched, there's nothing more painful.
And you've given birth without drugs,
yes,
by the way.
My second baby.
So I think it's important we mention that.
It's more painful than that.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, oh my God. And it takes me literally probably 10 minutes to just empty my bladder because I can't let it out. So I get off the toilet and I go to my guy and I say, look, I got to go to the doctor. Like something has happened to me and I don't know what it is. And I couldn't even put my legs together.
Oh my God.
Whatever happened in the night after that sex was bad. So we jump in the car. He drives me to see my doctor. I get in there and my doctor's, got me on the table. He's looking up there and he says, wow, you got a new guy in your life? I said, I do. And I'm like, it's amazing. And he's like, He said, well, I think I know what this is. I know what this is. I've seen this before. And I said, what? He said, it's a really bad case of herpes, like a really bad case. And I'm like, herpes? I mean, not knocking anyone that has herpes, but I was like, herpes? I'm like, what? Well, how do you know that? He goes, I've seen this before. This is a really bad case of herpes. Now, all these things are going through my mind, like the love of my life, this great man, this great sex, and now he gave me herpes? Like, I thought, wow, he would have told me he had herpes. Like, I thought he should have. He could have. Like, why didn't he? Going through all this stuff. And he goes, I'm going to do the test. In 3 days, you'll get the results back. But I'm sure, I'm pretty sure, Hal, this is herpes. So now I go down in the car. He's in the car waiting for me. I see him. I open the door, and I'm angry, and I'm sad that he didn't tell me, and I'm also mad. And I'm like, so look, so you got herpes? He's like, what? I'm like, you have herpes. He's like, I don't have herpes. I said, clearly you have herpes because I have herpes. And I didn't have herpes before I knew you. And now I have herpes. So you clearly gave me herpes.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
He's like, no, I swear I didn't. I don't think I have herpes. I said, I don't have it. I said, well, let me be the first to tell you got herpes. Because I got herpes. I didn't have it before you. So we're driving home in this argument, like who has herpes, and we're arguing about why.
Awkward car ride ever.
Awkward, right?
Yeah.
So we get home and I say to him, look, you're going to have to go to the doctors and you're going to have to get a test too. And you're going to find out you have herpes because now we both have herpes and you gave it to me. Yeah. So he's okay. I'll go to the doctor. I don't feel like I have any herpes. No. So he goes to the doctor. So we have 72 hours of just blaming each other and not knowing what to do. He gets his test back first. He comes to me, chest poked out. Yeah. Like I said, I don't have herpes. Upright. You have the herpes. And I thought, oh my God. I said, okay, I guess I have the herpes. I said, I'm sorry, I've given you herpes. Like I didn't know. I'm sorry. A few hours later, my doctor calls me. Before he even says anything, I'm ready to say, okay, yeah, I already know I got the herpes. He says, Hallie, you don't have herpes. I'm like, I don't? Yeah. I'm like, I don't have herpes, really? He said, no, you don't. I said, well, why would you say that? He said, well, that's what it looked like, but I don't know how to explain this. But no, you do not have herpes. I'm like, well, what is it then? Didn't know. He
didn't know?
No, he didn't know. Oh. He said, I don't know. I don't know.
And it's just like your primary care doctor had no idea. Okay.
No. And this was the defining moment that set me on this journey. What I went through with my guy for 72 hours, finding out this news the way we did, but nobody could tell me, well, why had this happened to me and what was wrong with me? Yeah. And that sent me on my own journey of investigation and reconnaissance and reading. And I came to, after about 2 or 3 weeks of my own individual investigation that what was happening to me was a symptom that many women suffer from in the perimenopausal years. Now, I'm 54. One of my doctors should have already talked to me about being in perimenopause.
This is wild.
Nobody, and I've got like 6 doctors.
Yeah.
Not one of them had a conversation. I'm 54 years old about perimenopause.
And not telling you how to prepare for it.
Or that it was even coming.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to skip it because nobody talked to me about something. It wasn't going to happen to me then.
You hear these stories happening to people, like in all of medicine. So I think, sometimes I think medicine is hard. We acknowledge that. There are many things doctors don't know. A lot of things that doctors can't figure out. And a good doctor will tell you that. They're like, hey, we try our best, but there's oftentimes we don't know. But it's crazy how much more they don't know about women's issues.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
We haven't been studied in the same way men have. We only were allowed to be a part of clinical studies in 1993.
93?
1993 was when they started including women in clinical studies.
But the thing is, they know our periods cease at a point. Like, I would accept that, as a reason. Yeah, there's some things you don't know. But this is not unknowable. We know that women, at a certain point, if you live long enough, you'll probably stop menstruating.
Right.
Yes.
And the period before that can be difficult. Well, doctors should know that, I guess.
But they didn't prepare you at all. No one says, hey, just so you know, you're getting to, like, for instance, okay, so when I turned 40, without fail, my doctor was just like, how old are you? Even when I was like 38, they're like, 38? They're like, soon you're going to need to go and get your prostate checked.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? And they're like, they're going to go and do the thing to your bum. And I was like, okay. But every stop I would go to, people would like throw it out. They're like, throw it out. Even like the dentist, he was like, oh, happy birthday, prostate time. I'm like, okay. So I just knew, genuinely, knew at 40, prostate is now a thing that gets checked.
Yes.
And you're telling me that.
Wouldn't it be great if doctors told us at 40, okay, perimenopause time, let me tell you what you got to do to get,
that's crazy.
Wouldn't that be great if they knew enough? But the truth is, only 13% of doctors in our country understand the menopausal body, and it's one chapter in medical school. That's why doctors don't know. So I don't sit here even blaming my doctor that didn't know what that was. Not his fault. Not his fault. On an institutional level, we have not been made important on any level. So it's not their fault. It's only going to become their fault as this conversation gets louder and louder and these doctors don't go back and get retooled. Then I will start blaming them because when you know better, you do better. Okay. Now, doctors are really starting to understand what they don't know. And menopause used to not be a thing. Nobody ever thought that it was real. It was like, just deal with it. It's just old age. It's just, no, it's not just, it's a real thing. And it affects more than our lady parts. When we lose our estrogen, the thing that makes us, that makes women, it affects our brain, our heart, our liver, our skin, our bones, our hair, our mood. Everything about us becomes compromised.
Well, the suicide rate goes up for menopausal women.
Yes.
That was something I read.
And we just get put on antidepressants because we're depressed. No, we're not depressed. We're losing that hormone that makes up who we are on a cellular level. And if we don't replace that in some way, we're just going to die slowly. And it's a tragic death because we lose our faculties to think and remember early onset Alzheimer's and dementia. Our bones get so brittle, we fall down, we break them. It's lights out, right? Our heart gets compromised. More women have heart disease and heart attacks at this time of life than men do, right? So it's not just we get what I know I had now was vaginal atrophy. It's not just that.
Yeah.
That I've learned how to fix. I'm good now. But how do we fix our heart disease? How do we fix our brain? How do we stay virile and active and be able to walk and take care of ourselves? How do we do that without this very thing that makes us us? That's what we have to start studying.
We're going to continue this conversation right after this short break. I'll tell you why I love these conversations because I've told you something, but so I grew up with my mom, like as a single mom for most of our lives, right? And for various reasons, apartheid being one, but just like a single mom. But my mom, I didn't realize how blessed I was because she shares everything with me. So when she was going through menopause, she would just tell me stuff that was happening to her body. and she'd be like, "Oh, I'm so hot. Hey. She said, "Oh, you must thank God you're not a woman. This thing that's happening to my." Oh, she says, "I'm hot and I'm cold and I'm angry and I'm tired and I'm sleepy and hi, Trevor. No, this. Whoa, I don't want it. I don't want it." And then, like when she was finished, she said, "I feel strong. I feel like a man. I feel like a man." And I was like, "This, I don't know what's happening," but she would explain it. No, so I love these conversations, and I'm in a strange way used to them. Because of just, I guess, how my mom was with me. But I don't know what some of the terms are, and I don't. So, like, what is vaginal atrophy?
Funny you should say. Vaginal atrophy is what 50% of the women who go through perimenopause actually experience. So
50%?
50%. So it's a real serious part of, I am so not alone in what I've gone through. And it's when the walls of your vagina start to actually atrophy, which means they start to fall apart and sort of disintegrate. You lose your collagen inside your vagina, as we do in our faces, and we start to get wrinkles and your skin gets crepey. That's what's happening inside your vagina. And so the walls get really thin and, crepey. So when you are having sex, those walls are so thin, it cracks. Oh. And that's what the razor blades in the vagina feels like that I experienced, right? And sometimes it happens during sex, but then it can happen after you've had sex. If you were like in the moment and you got your groove and you don't feel that it's cracking because those endorphins are kicking off and pleasure is happening. The next morning when you go to the bathroom and you try to urinate, it's when the urine touches the walls of those cracks. Yeah. That's what makes it so painful, right? And that's what vaginal atrophy is.
I'm so curious because women aren't necessarily talking to other women about this and don't have the resources themselves. No. Doctors don't seem to know. Where does a woman go who's like perimenopausal or menopausal and is just trying to figure out what is going on and who can help me?
What's funny you should say. Because we have just launched Respin 2.0 and Respin Health. And the whole idea of this company is about creating community. We learned that when people have other people, like-minded people who are struggling with the same issue to talk to, there's strength in that, right? There's strength in community. Talking to other people, you can hold each other accountable, you can brainstorm, you can share stories. Because I've learned, as I've been talking about it, when I talk to other women, they go, they instantly feel better because they can talk about it with someone who understands, who's not afraid to talk about it, who can hold space for their feelings, who know that what they're saying is true and real. They can feel less shame. They can feel not alone, less afraid. That right there is half the battle. Just getting them to talk about it and feel good talking it, not just talking about it, but feeling empowered by being able to talk about it. So Respin is that place of community, but they can also not just talk about it in like a wild, wild west kind of way. They can talk about it and be guided with doctors and professionals and scientists.
Also, it's connected to healthcare providers as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And people that are on the cutting edge of where we are in menopause, who are doing the latest researches, right? Running the most recent clinical trials and studies, who can tell you why HRT isn't bad for us like we once thought 20 years ago, why that was a debunked study
That's hormone replacement therapy.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And why that study.
So, and that's something I actually wanted to ask you about, because when the older women who do speak about it with me are so terrified of hormone replacement therapy.
Yes, because of that study.
Yeah, and I say, well, the study's been debunked, and you can go on Instagram and see in the comments section, there's big pharma trying to kill us. And
wow.
No, but because it's like breast cancer is a thing that does increase with age, and people are terrified to get breast cancer.
Yes.
So there are women suffering right now who maybe are good candidates for HRT.
Absolutely. And that's why we have to figure out what the truth is about it. And then as women, we have to make those choices for ourselves, not because what you heard or what somebody else is afraid of, but we have to make these decisions based on education for ourselves. Because for me, just me, we have a greater chance of having cancer late in life anyway. So if that's the truth, I want to live my second act feeling great. Not having brain fog, not flooding my laundry room every other week, not raging, not having headaches, not worrying.
Not being at the mercy of your body, it sounds like.
Right. I want to live my best life. And so once I did my own education, I too was afraid of HRT because I had heard those stories. But once I got into understanding why it was okay for me, I now know I'll be on this till the day I die.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I'm going to die anyway. And I'm going to die feeling good about
Have
We
you
don't
felt a
know.
change
We don't know if
since
that's a fact, though.
HRT?
Yes,
we don't know.
I am going to die.
We assume you think you'll die.
But I might not.
I mean, you say you're 58. We don't know.
We don't. I don't
might
believe
be
that.
like there might be like a future generation having this conversation. So, Hallie, as the first 1,000-year-old person, what do you feel about? Let me ask you a few questions.
Oh God, I better not be here.
From an ignorant perspective, like, you know, for people who are either scared or aren't suitable for hormone replacement therapy, are there other options? Are there non-HRT options?
Yeah, there are other options on the market that women can try that are afraid or who, legit cannot go on hormone replacement. There are those women out there. But that's why I've been in Washington trying to get this bill passed, this menopause bill with $265 million bill, because we need more research. We need more education. We need more therapies developed so that HRT will not be the best solution. Right now, arguably, if you can take it, it is the best solution. But we're working with doctors and with the government to try to come up with other therapies because not every woman will feel like that's the right choice for her. I get that. And we should have the right to do hormone or do, a non-hormonal remedy. We should have the right to make that choice for ourselves.
The right and the range.
Yes.
I'm curious, like drinking bone broth, collagen supplements, would that help?
Yes,
as well?
all of that help.
Okay.
I'm on the bone broth, been on that for like 6 years, bone broth, supplements, a good quality collagen though. All collagen is not created equal. But a good collagen, absolutely.
Okay, so from the inside out, you can do some of the work.
Yeah, you can do some of the work. But sometimes I'm finding for the more severe vaginal atrophies, that's like the slow boat from China. Like you might be done having sex before it gets fixed.
Yeah.
So you might have to find another remedy like the VFit or HRT, or vaginal inserts, estradiol vaginal inserts. We're now finding are actually very, very helpful too.
Wow.
So I would understand if like this was a conversation that women didn't have with men. I'd love to know like why women don't have it with women or why it isn't like, I don't even, again, this is very ignorant of me, but I don't understand why there's any shame attached to it. What is it about it that is shameful?
Well, I can tell you one thing, because we live in a world where as women, we have been sold the ideology that we have to stay forever young. We have to stay forever 30.
Oh, damn.
Right? And look around. Look, you see what's happening to the faces and the people. We have to stay at all costs. We cannot age. We are only valuable when we are young and virile and forever 30, 35. And that's why we don't have the conversations, because we have bought into that and we don't want to get old either. So we're not going to talk about that with each other. Women are talking about how they can stay young.
Right.
What they can do with their
procedures,
face, the procedures they can do, and how can you... That's what we're talking about, where we are also victims of this way of thinking. The goal should not be to stay forever 30. The goal should be to age gracefully, have the confidence to be able to do that, knowing that our real value lies within, not externally. Because we're fighting for external youth, because the inside is doing what the inside is doing.
Welcome to a special part of the show, Best Drive Ever, which is brought to you today by Audi. Audi has taken a huge leap forward with their all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron, featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and the most advanced tech of any Audi ever. You know, I remember my first electric car like it was yesterday. And it wasn't just any electric car. It was the Audi e-tron. Not the Q6, unluckily, but it was. And it wasn't just the e-tron. Believe it or not, it was the very first one off the production line. I've loved cars. Like my whole entire life, I've loved cars. But my first electric car, that was something special. Because the e-tron wasn't just an electric car. You know, I remember stepping into that car. It felt like I was stepping into the future, a future that I'd always imagined. You know, it felt like a car the way I wanted a car to feel. It felt special. It was really designed well. It was beautiful looking. It had everything that was familiar to me. But there was an element of the future that was something beyond my mind. The hum of the engine was replaced by a quiet confidence. There was a seamless acceleration. The way the road felt different. It was smoother. It was more connected. Almost like the car was an extension of the journey itself. And when I was thinking about this experience, I was thinking about how my love for driving started long before that moment. As a kid, I was never in a rush to get anywhere. Because for me, the best part wasn't the destination. It literally was the drive. You know, I remember my mom taking us home from church. And instead of heading straight back, she'd take the long way. We'd weave through different neighborhoods. And we'd play this game where we'd guess who lived behind the walls and what their lives were like. Some streets were lined with jacaranda trees, their petals painting the road purple. Others stretched wide open, endless tarmac, leading to places unknown. I never wanted the ride to end because in those moments, the car wasn't just a way to get somewhere. It was a part of the experience itself. And I think that's what makes a truly great car. It doesn't just move you from A to B. It moves you. It makes the journey feel effortless. It turns silence into serenity and transforms motion into something meaningful. And when you're in a great car with great people, oh, that's when the real magic happens. You know, think about it. That's when you have the deepest conversations, the biggest laughs, the kind of moments that stay with you long after you've turned that ignition off. And that's exactly what the Audi Q6 e-tron is all about. Power, precision, and the kind of driving experience that reminds you why the road will always be a place of possibility. And then, when you're done with your road trip, the Q6 e-tron can come back to the real world with you as your everyday car. For instance, the fully electric Q6 e-tron features a new panoramic digital stage. Plus, you can add an optional screen for front seat passengers. So if you wanted to watch my specials or this podcast in there, you could. Just a suggestion. I mean, you could watch whatever you like. Experience powerful performance, smooth and refined driving dynamics, and a comfortable ride. You'll look and feel confident and in command of the road in this sporty, perfectly proportioned, and fully electric SUV. Learn more at AudiUSA.com. Always pay careful attention to the road and do not drive while distracted. You see, it's interesting that you say that. That's what I mean by reading up on your life and why I feel like chosen is a situation that you were in and you've accepted. Mm. Because when I look at the journey of Halle Berry, I've gone back to interviews that you did in like 1992, just like random moments with local newspapers. And it's amazing. No, it's really amazing to see how you were trying to pitch yourself as a serious actor, somebody who's in the game, as somebody who takes their craft seriously. And without fail, your beauty will always be put first before everything. And by the way, I'm not even like judging people because I know I'm part of them. I'm not like sitting here like I was like, I'm not going to be here like, no, you say Halle Berry and then I was like, hallelujah. You get what I'm saying? But it's such a strange thing because someone would go like, oh, but it's like a good problem. But I feel like you are the embodiment of that in a very specific way. Mm. And now you're using some of that experience to try and rally against the idea because you are the epitome of that. And you work in an industry where many actresses have said across the board, God forbid a wrinkle starts popping out the corner of your eye, out the corner of your mouth. And all of a sudden they're like, do you want to play someone's mom? Yeah. And the roles dry up and everything disappears. Whereas like George Clooney, he's still the heartthrob. Him and Brad Pitt, let's do it, baby. Yeah. No one's like, wait, they're how old? No, everyone's just like, George Clooney, Brad Pitt. Ooh, yeah. But if like two women of the same age in Hollywood were trying to do that, someone would go, that's an interesting, what's like a mom's weekend movie?
MILF,
what is
a MILF movie?
I guess it's a MILF movie.
Yeah.
Then we're MILFs. So cougars. We're cougars.
I'd love to know like how you've dealt with that because it can be hard. I can only assume to, on the one hand, have something that people see as an asset, and it is in some ways, but then also deal with the limitations that it comes with in allowing you to be your fullest self as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has been, I feel like this is a very hard thing to say because, people often are, oh, poor you.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
You told you're pretty. Oh, God damn it. And I know that. So this is a hard thing to say, but it's something that, and I think I've said this recently, I have longed to hear somebody say anything else other than that. Anything else. You could call me, she's a can curse.
You can say anything
you
you
can
want.
say she's a motherfucking bitch. I'd almost rather them say that at this point than just the same thing I've heard for 4 decades.
Yeah.
You know, because I know that I'm more than this. And I feel like that's always so reductive. You know, it's just reductive. I've worked hard to be a good actor. I work hard to be a good mother. I've worked hard at trying to be me.
Yeah.
And to just be reduced to, oh, she's pretty, is at 58. It's a hard pill to swallow these days. And so you're right. I think this cause has given me a platform to talk about something other than that. And if I have been known as that my whole life, I'm the perfect person to talk about.
That's exactly what I mean.
That's what you mean.
Hallie, I was gonna
I'm
say,
the perfect person to talk about this now.
Is that why you're claiming like probably the most unsexy,
Yes.
gruesome
Yes.
experience? No, it's true. Like
Yes.
beyond the actual act of giving birth, which is very ugly. It's beautiful, but it's ugly if you see it up front. Menopause and this is just like, it's not something that most women would have the courage to claim publicly. And do you think you're trying to claim it for yourself in part because you want to get away from that perception of perfection and beauty?
And maybe I didn't choose it consciously, but like you said, Trevor, it's chosen me because I am the right person to talk about it, right? Because you would think someone like me I'd be the last one talking about it. But see, I've never, I don't ride on that beauty horse that people always want to put me on. So I woke up one morning with this idea, I'm going to tell this story. When this happened to me, I had no trepidation about telling it, like none.
Was there anyone in your circle who was like, Hallie, what are you doing? Like, surely there was someone, I can only imagine like the world of agents, managers, everything, because there is the idea of Halle Berry. I wonder if there was just anyone who was like, Hallie, you can't, like, what are you doing? Surely there was a little doubt.
Maybe, but I always had the right answer. I would say to people that said, this is gonna, this might level your career. And I said, I have been Black in this body and a woman my whole career. What's harder than that?
Damn.
So this doesn't scare me. I've always been behind the 8 ball, and I made it, and I'm still here, doing things on my own terms. So what's harder than that? Nothing.
Damn.
So no fear. I'm used to it.
I was going to ask about the Black womanhood piece, because I think that like when you drill down, Black women and menopause and just like reproductive health in general is just a maze.
Yes.
And we're misdiagnosed and underdiagnosed. So what would you say?
And we're at greater risk. We suffer disproportionately.
Disproportionately.
Too.
So
Yes.
what would you say to Black women specifically, especially those that maybe don't even have the tools and the vocabulary to understand what's happening with their body?
We have to start taking this into our own hands. Even these women in these rural states that don't have access to care, we have to lean in. We have to do our own education, because we've got a while before the medical world catches up to where we are and can offer us really what we deserve. We're on the precipice of that right now. So we as women have to, one, realize it's happening. We have to start talking about it, that thing that nobody did. And we have to lean in, and we have to do our own research. We have to question our doctors. If our doctors don't know about our bodies, guess what, ladies? Get a new doctor.
Yeah.
And, as women, we have a hard time doing that. We have a hard time standing up for ourselves, going to our male doctors that we've had for maybe 15, 20 years and saying, hey, bud, you don't know about my body. I'm out of here. These are the kinds of decisions we have to start making for ourselves, because we deserve healthcare and we deserve doctors that understand what's happening. And not many do. So we have to search them out. And maybe sometimes you have to have a doctor that's in another state that you can connect with, that can guide you.
Yeah.
You might not be able just to go see your doctor that you always went to go see. You might have to look outside those boundaries and find a place where you can really get the information you need and be cared for. And we have to do it ourselves. And we can't keep our heads in the mud and think that it's going to skip me, because that's what I thought. No, ignorant, we cannot come from that place. We have to go do the work and start educating ourselves and make some tough choices.
I only realized how opaque this world was when, I saw you in Sweden. We were in Stockholm, right? And you were speaking, and you were sharing like some of your experience, and I'll never forget how like if you've never been to Sweden, like if you've never been to Scandinavia, understand something. The Scandinavians are the most put together, non-disruptive, polite people you will ever come across.
Oh, so polite.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you keep to yourself. Everyone does their own thing. You've all got your own house, and let's keep it moving. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very, very, very polite society. And when Halle was speaking on stage, people like it was amazing because it was like watching the human body go through two conflicting emotions at the same time. On the one hand, you would see these Scandinavian women like stiffen up, like you shouldn't be saying this, but then their heads would turn like, tell me more, tell me more. And then afterwards we were having some conversations, and one elderly woman came up to me and she says, yeah, that Halle Berry, quite a story to tell. I don't know if I would have told it the same way, but yeah, I'm glad she spoke. But yeah, that was quite intimate, yeah, because now we know she has a vagina. And I was like, but we should surely. But it was really amazing to see this. Because, you would think, you say rural, you think, but it is amazing to see how pervasive a shame or like an idea can be. And I'm like, did you not think I had a vagina? But this is what it made me wonder. Like, when I think of what the journey that you're on now, when I like intimacy gel, for instance, I love that it seems like you've taken something that was a kernel of an idea and you're growing it into like a forest of acknowledgement in a way, because like. Intimacy gel, already people are just like, whoa, wait, lubricant, wait, what's happening here?
And she's getting great reviews, by the way. Tabitha Brown.
Yes.
Shout out to Tabitha Brown.
Tabitha.
So that's what I mean.
Gifts you just get from people.
But this is something that was, again, it has a different type of taboo, right? So if menopause is the taboo of, oh, my body's not working the way it's quote unquote supposed to work, and if I'm now aging and I'm quote unquote, I'm fading out or I'm aging out, this is another taboo. It's like, sex, like lubricant or like any of these things.
Yes,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is such another taboo. So,
and it's my goal to change that.
Yes,
I want women to go in there and say, do you have Let's Spin? I need some Let's Spin. Do you have it? And feel no shame, because sex does get better on the other side.
This is what I want to get into, is if something is not improved, then it'll always remain bad. It might even get worse, right? And I couldn't help wonder, reading everything about the intimacy gel, I was like, how many people are not having sex anymore, not because they can't, but because they don't know how to?
Yes.
And then you're speaking about this. Like, why was sex as important in a way as like just the treating of the menopause itself? Because it seems like one is like a pleasure thing and the other one's like your body. So why sex?
Well, it's both. And first of all, I created a product that I most needed, right? And I think whenever somebody introduces a product into the market, or they're an entrepreneur and they have an idea for something, I find the most interesting companies to me are when they have founders that created something to fill a need that they have, right? And that's how you put your heart and your soul into it. And it's probably going to be a good product because they were trying to help themselves. Yeah. But by doing so, they help millions of other people, right? So I was just trying to help myself get through this time, thinking, what can I do so that I can continue doing that thing that makes me me, right? Because I just told you, I found my guy. I found my person.
You're having great sex.
Can't be the end of sex now. I'm like, God, this is a joke. I finally found him. So it really came out of a need to help myself.
Right.
But in doing so, I started to realize, I'm not the only woman suffering from this. This is a conversation that we all need to start having and it's not just pleasure. For men to stay connected to their optimal good health, they have to keep having sex. You guys have to keep having that thing, which is why you got the blue pill right away when it was a problem. Like, boom, right? Well, women are the same way. We have to keep having sex too. It's a part of staying healthy. It's a part of our systems that must operate like your systems operate, right? It's just we don't get thought of that way, because you know what happens when men need to continue having sex? If their partner who's about their same age can't keep having sex, traditionally, nothing against my men, because I love you guys.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Because what you guys do is you'll just go get another younger woman and keep doing the thing you need to do. Yeah. We cannot, right? If our system shuts down, we can't go get another man because we can't have it.
I think you could get someone younger.
None of this ain't working. No, because he's going to want what he's going to want. So, no, I have to keep this working.
Right.
But because as women, we failed to keep it working, there have been so many divorces just for that reason. So many. I'll tell you a story. I have a friend who will remain nameless, but he came to me and he said, Hallie, I'm going to get a divorce. And I've known him a long time. And I was like, but what? You love your wife. Like, what is happening? This was like 2 years ago. And he said, she just doesn't want me anymore. Like, I don't know what has happened. We were doing so good. I thought we were going to ride this thing out. I would go to her. I would try to touch her and she would pull away and she's got someone else or something. She doesn't feel it for me anymore.
Damn.
And I just said, wow. And I couldn't believe it. And I was just formulating all of my ideas about what I'm doing now, about menopause and how she might be feeling. And I said to him, this is going to sound crazy to you, but go home and start a conversation with her about perimenopause and just start asking her how she's feeling down there. Is she feeling dry? Is she feeling headachy? Like, just go have a conversation. And I told him all the things to say. 2 weeks later, I see him again. He's like, oh my God, Hallie, you were right. It's not that she didn't want me. She thought that every time I touched her, I was going to want sex. And she knew that was so painful for her.
Oh, wow.
And she didn't want to feel that. And she was tired of faking it. She was tired of having it be so excruciating painful, but had to act like it wasn't hurting at all.
Oh my God.
And he was like, that's what it was all about. Because she couldn't even talk to him to tell him that. Right? And so that's when I knew that, oh my God, this is an issue that we have to talk about, and how intimately men are a part of this conversation, and how many marriages have broken up because they were on the verge of a divorce. And once they could talk about this, now they're thriving again. She's been a part of Respin. She's got her Let's Spin.
Yeah.
She did her VFit, vaginal device.
Oh, tell me about the VFit.
What's another thing? It's like a red light therapy device, just like we do on our faces now for anti-aging and collagen building. That goes into the vagina and it rebuilds the vaginal walls. And it's like it can actually help thicken your walls again so that you have more elasticity in your vaginal walls when you're having intercourse.
This is so techie and futuristic.
This is a rock and roll world.
Oh my gosh,
I'm just a tech fan, so I'm.
You're like, what?
I'm just like, Tell me more about how all of this works.
So, and how long
And it's amazing.
How long do you put it up you? Is it daily? Like, what's the regimen?
You do it daily. Well, this is how it worked for me. I did it daily for about 3 weeks. And then after that, it's just maintenance. It's once a week or once every 2 weeks. You got that and your Let's Spin, and you get some hormone replacement therapy, or you do some supplements that you like, and then you find out you can be back off to the races. Juicy as peach, all again. But you just have to know the things to do,
right?
Yeah.
So that you don't become a desert. You have to just know, and when we know, we will do, right? So,
Don't go anywhere, because we got more What Now after this.
For like a woman at home who's maybe like in her early 70s, is it too late for her? Can she jump on this train and try the VFit and the gel and the hormone replacement therapy? Because sometimes it feels like the conversation is geared to 40s to like late 50s.
She can certainly jump into the VFit. She can do the Let's Spin. Hormones, that's something she'd have to talk to a menopause doctor about to be sure, because I have heard that if you don't start the therapy early enough, that's when it can be an issue if you start too late in life. 70 may be too late. That's not what I should be answering today. I think that's what you need to go talk to a menopausal doctor about. So the message is actually we need to women as early as possible be on this journey. And start thinking about it at 35. At 35, because our childbearing years are 25 to 35. And at 35, that's when the estrogen starts to leave and we have to start realizing, okay, this peri is coming upon us. So at 35, I think we have to start talking to our doctors. If they're not talking to you, talk to them, get the right doctor, and start talking about it. What can I do so that I sail through to this moment, right? And that I don't suffer the way the women before me have suffered.
Before we lose you, I'd love to know how this journey has been informed by or has affected your professional / sort of life journey. And I know the two are connected, but I can't help but see all the links between them. Like Christiana and I will talk about all the time with, let's say, pregnancy or motherhood and how it clashes with the way we've built corporate life and companies. And you're in an industry that's unique but at the same time isn't really in some ways, in that, like, if you're a woman in Hollywood, if you're a woman in certain jobs, how you look, how you're perceived, how you're seen affects your ability to work or not work. And I'd love to know, how have you navigated a world that has told you don't hold as much value when you're building up all these other different facets of yourself that do hold value? Like, because there's a moment before Respin where Halle Berry is, as you said, you found another thing, and this is your second act. But I'd love to know how you were navigating that experience, because it can be a scary one for people in all walks of life. I just think Hollywood gets all the shine, but I think many people will experience that, where they go, oh, I didn't know what to do once my kids left for college. I'd always identified as a mom, and I was raising these kids, and now they're gone. And I just realized now my career as a mom is sort of over in that way. Or someone goes, oh, I've now gone back to the office, and my career is this. Oh, I've left the office, and I'm struggling with the way the world has now changed its perception of me. I'd love to know how you navigated it, what you experienced, and what you learned, and if you learned something from this part of it that's sort of helped you, or if it was part of the reason that Respin started.
It's certainly part of the reason that Respin started. I struggled to understand what this company was. I knew it was always respinning everything we thought we knew, but I didn't have a there. I didn't have the real purpose of what the there was. And when I realized that menopause needs the biggest respin of all, then I realized, oh, that's why I've been building this company. Even when I didn't know why really, I figured out why, which lets me know that it was happening, to me and for me, because I didn't really have it thought out, but yet I was building something, which is why I know it's chosen me. I just had to get caught up to it, right? Yeah. But it chose me clearly.
Was there a part of you that was afraid, though, that you were, because you're building this thing, but there's also this other world that you're an Oscar-winning actress. Like, let's never forget that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're an Oscar-winning actress.
History-making,
Oscar-winning actress. So it's not even... it's not like, oh yeah, you act. And it's not like you're a good actress. No. You can't get high. It's a gold medal at the Olympics. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? So I wonder, like, how much fear was attached to that, and how are you dealing with that? Yes, you're making Respin, but before that, you're letting go in some ways of something, and you don't know what that journey will or won't be. And so I think a lot of people would be served by knowing, like, just how did Halle Berry figure out what for many people is a really tough time in their lives before you find the next thing.
But I think this goes back to the thing I said earlier, and that is being born a Black woman. I feel like I have always felt like I sat at the bottom of society.
Damn.
Right? White man, Black man, white woman, Black woman. So I've always felt at the bottom. Never feeling like I was defeated because I was at the bottom. Never feeling like I couldn't dream big because I was at the bottom. Never feeling like I wasn't worthy or capable because I was at the bottom. But I always have known that I'm going to have to work 10 times harder than everybody else to get anywhere. Just to get a step up from the bottom, I'm going to have to work harder than a white man or a white woman or a Black man. I'm going to have to work that much harder because we sit at the bottom. And so that feeling, I think, has been what has propelled me my whole life. I've never been afraid of hard work. I've always known that anything was possible if I decide that it's so. I've always known my worth and my value, even when I've been struggling and I've been afraid, because I knew what my core values were all about. I had a 5th grade teacher. Her name is Yvonne Sim. She's a beautiful Black woman that took me under her wing when I was 10 years old. And everything that makes me me is her, that she took the time to pour into me. And you know how I knew I was valuable? Because this teacher who didn't have to take time, she wasn't my mother, she didn't bring me into the world, she didn't owe me, but because this beautiful, smart, wise woman took me under her wing and invested in me, she poured that into me, and that gave me value. I knew I must be special. I must be of value. If this woman would take her time every day after school to pour into me. And that's what I've carried. I've known that worth and that value from a very young age.
That's beautiful.
And I haven't allowed people to dim my light, even when I've gone through shit. And we know the things I've gone through. Many of them have been public. I'm going through shit right now. I don't care. It's just things that you go through, you grow through, you learn. That's why we're here, right? But I've always just known I have value here and I have a purpose. So finding Respin and finding this cause of menopause is like, oh, another one of my purposes. Like winning that Oscar that time. I was chosen to do that too, to open that door. I knew it was bigger than me, right? I hope this year someone stands next to me this year. I hope it happens because I'm tired of occupying that space alone.
Right.
I hope this is the year, right? But even if it's not, I was chosen in that moment to be a beacon of possibility, right? And I do think it served that purpose. Yeah. And I think I'm sitting in this moment also talking about menopause and telling my own story and being bald and bold. It's also to be a beacon of possibility as where we can go as women and what we deserve, and knowing that we're more than this shell, right? That we are complicated, we are beautiful, we are strong, we deserve a second act, we deserve all things good. We've raised our children, we sacrificed our bodies, right? We've given what we have to give. I can't believe we live in a world that now says, we got nothing for you. Sorry. I don't believe that, right? But I know we have to change that for ourselves. And I realize this is my second act purpose, to help change that narrative. That's my purpose.
It's amazing. The teacher poured into you, and I feel like you're now pouring into everybody else.
Yeah.
And you poured into us. This was more fun than I could have expected.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is so much fun.
I wish you could stay longer.
I know.
You'll come back. You'll come back. There'll be more Respin. I can see it. It's gonna like.
I want the
infinite.
supplements. That's what I'm ready
It's
for.
infinite.
That's the next thing we're doing.
See,
we're working on
the
it.
supplements.
I knew it. It's infinite.
We're working on it.
Okay, great.
All things,
great.
yeah.
It's going to be. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for pouring your hearts out. Thank you. Thank you for being you.
Thank you too.